Palm Coast City Council Workshop. Today is Tuesday, September 9th, 2025. Bless you. It's 6 p.m. We are in the John Netz Community Wing of City Hall. I officially call this meeting to order. If you could, please silence all your devices at this time. And if you would, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a short moment of silence. Thank you. And please have a seat. Ms. Allison, if you could, please call the roll.
Mayor Norris.
Here.
Vice Mayor Panieri.
Present.
Councilmember Gambaro.
Here.
Councilmember Miller.
Here.
And Councilmember Sullivan.
Here.
All members are present.
Thank you, ma'am. Our first order of business is public participation. Remember to observe the rules within the agenda. No defamatory or vulgar language if you can help it. And with that being said, this will be allotted for 30 minutes. Please come forward if you have a public comment. State your name when you come up to the mic. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Jill Dempsey, and I have two questions today. One is in reference to the website ADA requirements. I know that you're working to get the website ADA compliant. I had wanted to know how far along it is and when all of the information will be put back on the website.
Yes, ma'am. You finish your comments and we'll follow up after.
And the other question I have is I also am on the board for the Northeast Florida Regional Transport. I was notified that the director of that, Pia Thompson, has stepped down or is no longer there. I had a question as to whether you have hired someone else for the position, whether you're interviewing anyone, whether any decisions have been made. We want to keep transport in Flagler County. We don't want it run strictly by the Northeast Florida. We don't want it taken out of the county. Our needs are growing. We need more buses, more drivers, and we want to make sure that the quality stays the same. And lastly, regarding that as well, I know that the county pays for school bus drivers driving commercial license. They do not currently pay for county drivers. Is that going to be looked at and addressed? Can any accommodation be made so that we can get more drivers with Flagler County Transport? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Jeannie Duarte. Our business meetings here start at 6 p.m. It's separate from proclamations, though last week's City Council meeting started over 35 minutes into the timestamp. I would like to suggest placing a timestamp digital clock next to the speaker timer, synced to the video. Once again, our fleet budget is out of control. The charter review is not due till 2028. Due to the current appointed and exiting city council seats, who appoint 3 out of 5 charter seats, I would urge that this be tabled to the new elected council. Removing information from the city's website is a violation of citizens' rights to be informed. Using lack of ADA compliance as reasoning and stating you have till April of next year to comply is unacceptable. I am concerned the plans for wastewater treatment plant 2 were never placed on any referendum for the vote of the electors. As it appears, the citizens are burdened to pay and are learning about these changes well after the fact, as wastewater treatment plant 2 and its expansion has already been completed. While wastewater treatment plant 1 is used as a dumping ground and sits in disrepair, The water and wastewater budget are intermingled and are not adding up. There are concerns that funds will be directed at will. Our problem is not supply and capacity for fresh water, but human waste. Currently, the solids are being sold as fertilizer and reclaimed water irrigating palm coasts and nearby agriculture, with the proposed conversion to reuse as potable water. Florida is surrounded by water. We flood. Our aquifers are being continually replenished. So why? Water, water everywhere, and not a drop to drink.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Wendy Tremarchi, Flagler County. In relation to the 6,000-home Hog Creek project in Bunnell, as it affects all of Flagler County's pet population, statistics show that 6,000 homes would bring approximately 4,200 pets to that area. The City of Palm Coast and the county are in discussions over animal control and sheltering for the already immediate needs and issues that cannot and will not be addressed by the current nonprofit with the contracts to house and care for all our animals. I realize decisions made by the City of Bunnell is not something you can control, but their choices do affect the entire city and county infrastructure and, yes, your pet population issues, all of which will affect your citizens here in Palm Coast. Please help expedite the animal welfare decision-making already on the table for our unwanted and at-risk animals as the situation only escalates. When is the next meeting on this issue with the county? As a postscript, the Humane Society now has inmates at the shelter. In premise, I think it's a great idea and works well when done at a sheriff's department shelter run under strict guidelines. As we know, both county animal control officers have had personal relationships with Flagler inmates. And the list for change goes on. This county is down. When I started this a year and a half ago, there were 13 counties that did not have its own shelter. In just that little over a year, it's down to 9. And Indian River County, that I'm on the board of their Humane Society, is now going to have a county shelter. And that will be voted on soon, and I'm sure it's going to pass. So we're going to be one of 8, 7 that don't have it. We can't just keep putting it off, and that seems to be what happens between the city and the county. There needs to be a meeting with a decision. The animal control officers is a no-brainer. It should come to you all. I'd like to see all the animals in the county come to the city of Palm Coast and pay you all for that, because you do it well. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Chantal Pröninger. She brought some interesting points reminding us that Palm Coast is not a bubble. So what I mean by that is all the big developments around Palm Coast will affect our infrastructure as well and the number of cars on the streets. And I would just invite you to think about that when you are in the process of approving more new development or take some decisions that will affect the infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Good evening. I'm Michael Flanagan, 10 Point Durrell Court. I come tonight to speak about the Southern Recreation Center. We've got a world-class...
Sir, that is on the agenda. Okay. Matters on the agenda, you'll be able to speak when we get to it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Just a reminder, if an item is on the agenda, please refrain until the item is brought to the council. Yes, ma'am.
Kathy Saris, Palm Coast. I'm here to remind you that we need another animal shelter. I know you have a task force going on, but I also want you, and the contract is coming up soon to renew. There was some requests that you were making earlier, so I want to just remind you that between you and the county, you wanted one of the commissioners on their board of directors, and that you wanted background checks for some of the employees, or for employees and the volunteers, for the safety of the employee and volunteers. I know when I was there volunteering, they had criminals there, and it wasn't safe, and we went to the director, and there was nothing done about it because he worked hard in the morning. And also, there is a desperate need. And as Wendy was saying, the other counties have gotten together. And I know that at the jail right now, they're doing something with the cats. Maybe they can do something with the dogs, but we really need to get control of the animals under the city and county. There's many housing developments going up, which is bringing many more people here, and the people are coming with their animals. So there is a dire need, and like I said, I know you're working on it, but please remember the request that you had put in. I think one of the couples that was on there, one is no longer there, so that's a good thing. But I think there's another couple that's there. And I want to ask your help for the animals because they cannot speak. So we want to be the voice for the voiceless. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, Miss Henry.
Denise Henry, P section. Someone actually did bring up transportation, and I know it's probably the bulk of the county, but I think we need the council and the city to impress upon them that there does need growth in that. I picked someone up who asked me for a ride to our church, and on the way back she told me that she can no longer drive because she had a stroke and had recovered but can't drive anymore, and that she called for for the transportation to take her for grocery shopping. They told her they had no openings until October. So she said, how am I supposed to get my groceries? So they put her on the schedule in October. She said, but she can only do it. She wanted to schedule once a week, but they said, no, you can only schedule twice a month. So, you know, what, and they're not even open on Sundays. So they don't even provide any transportation on Sundays. So this is something we really need to look into, and I realize it might be more county, but I think that we need to pressure them to do more for the residents because as more and more people can't drive, they need help.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Mr. Webb.
Good evening, Mark Webb, Palm Coast. Just a couple of little issues. I brought this before the dais before. I still feel passionate that we need to move the final public participation to the end of the meeting. Every time when you guys have your discussions after the final, amazing, exciting, important things are brought up that the public should and may have an interest in participating, like in the last meeting when after the public participation was closed, the attorney brought up the lawsuit that the builders were bringing up, and the public wasn't allowed to speak. Now, I don't know how many, other than myself, watch it, pay attention, and are willing to bring it up the next meeting to talk about these things. But, you know, Ms. Sullivan had some phenomenal, great comments about that. It should be moved to allow for participation. I know I brought it up before. Secondly, the agendas that we have for the upcoming meetings going out multiple weeks, maybe even a month, I know are in construction, and I know that the city manager works on them. But I also know, and in hearing from you guys, that a lot of the agendas get full and subjects are brought up for discussion, like, for example, the e-bike and other things. Is there any way that that rough draft agenda can be publicized so that the citizens know well before the 3 days, 4 days before the agenda is posted, so that they know that these things are going to come up so that they can be prepared, so that they can participate? It's just a question. I know the data is available. I know you guys are working hard with being transparent and putting it out there. But the earlier that you can put on an agenda for, say, October or whatever, that we're going to discuss Humane Society, we're planning on discussing whatever, allows the city, allows the citizens an opportunity to possibly do some research, figure out what's going on, and become better prepared to participate in the conversation, which I know that's why we're all here today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else for public participation? Seeing no one come forward, we'll bring it back to the dais. Before we get into your comments, City Manager, I'd just like to wish my oldest baby boy a happy birthday over in Guam. Lieutenant J.G. Christian Michelin Norris. He's celebrating his birthday in Tokyo, but he's on the tip of the spear in America's defense out there in the Pacific Fleet. City Manager, any follow-ups?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Dempsey, our website for being ADA requirement, we are hopeful that that's going to be done by April of 2026 is when we have to be compliant. We are looking at the data of what's being clicked on the website and then making sure that we're putting the ADA material on accordingly. So we're looking at that traction of what's frequently hit most, questions, answers, all of that. Because it is very time consuming to go through a lot of those documents and try and make them compliant. As far as the transportation director resignation, that is not the city of Palm Coast. That's most likely a Flagler County function, but also in reference to the other public comment on transportation issues from Ms. Henry. I did, per your direction, City Council, I did reach out to the county administrator and request that her staff come give a presentation on the Flagler County Transportation for Disadvantaged program. So that should be scheduled soon. Ms. Duarte, we appreciate your comments about the speaker clock and can look into that. The Charter Review Committee, we are following City Council's direction. Wastewater Treatment Plant 2 did not have to go for a vote to the electors because the utility is an enterprise fund, so therefore it did not need that action. And then actually reclaim and reuse policies are not only in our comprehensive plan, but they're also a preference of the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. So those are requirements that we are meeting on reclaim and reuse priorities. Ms. Wendy, in regards to concerns about animal shelter, the city and the county are working together on a task force, and we just met this week, and it was very informative. And actually, Mr. Cameron Orr is our lead for that task force, and we meet again in another couple of weeks. City Council has sent you those meeting notes, and we are targeting to come back as a joint body in December as it aligns with your strategic action plan, as well as looking forward for budgeted priorities for fiscal year 27. I know we haven't approved 26 yet, but we're already thinking ahead to fiscal year 27. And the Humane Society's contract is scheduled on your agenda in October. I believe it's the first business meeting in October that we were targeting. Thank you, Mr. Webb, for your comments, and we will discuss that as a team and try and meet some of those expectations. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Webb, as far as the public comments, we in November, it's November, we change over, right? We review our public policies and procedures. We'll elect a new vice mayor if we elect a new vice mayor, so we can look at that in policies and procedures, correct?
Yes, Mayor. We'll make sure that's scheduled.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Any follow-ups from the council members?
Just really quickly, I do want to comment on the development that was approved for Bunnell and talk about kind of the infrastructure concerns that it might have a ripple effect through the city of Palm Coast regarding, I share your concerns. Obviously Bunnell is right next to many of our residents. So I would just ask city staff to please make sure you are staying in touch with the commissioners and the staff over there in Bunnell, so that we can try to stay apprised of what's coming and when, just so that we can make sure our residents are obviously kept informed, but also as we share roads and systems, whatever that may look like, that we are as prepared as we can be.
Understood.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
I had to just comment on Jill Dempsey. Nice to see you, Jill. I was the chairman of the disadvantaged travel, public travel, for a number of years when I was on the commission. And I always tried to get a person from the city council on to come to our meetings, and it went okay for a while, but then she left the council, and it's, things that go around come around. I'm now that person. For instance, we have a meeting tomorrow of with the state on this, and I'm sorry to hear that Pia may be leaving, but as Lauren pointed out, this is a county operation, and it's done almost entirely with grant money, not tax money. But it's very important, and we're doing thousands and thousands of trips every month. I can get the statistics. And in our last meeting, as our city manager indicated, we did ask to have a briefing here because I think it's being underused to a degree. But you have to qualify to be on it. It's age and disadvantage, things like that. In other words, if you have a car and you're still driving, probably you may not get to use the system. It's not a taxi service. You have to qualify to be part of it, and then you have to call ahead of time to set up the transportation. But the people who use it love it. As I say, we're doing thousands a week in the way of driving. There are 30 buses, and as I say, most of the money, almost all the money for that system comes from grants from the state. It's tax money, but it's not ours. And it is a county function. I think we want to leave it that way for the time being. And I'll continue to be on the board as long as I'm here, and we'll try to make things better.
All right, thank you, sir. Councilman Gambaro, you have anything? Okay, with that being said, we're going to move on. I would like to see if we can get a consensus to move up the presentation for the Southern Recreation Center to our number one slot for presentations, because I think the majority of the people here are here for the Southern Recreation Center. Do we have a problem with that? Anyone have a problem? Okay.
Mayor, City Council, just as a reminder, if you don't mind, just talk into your microphone. I did have a request from a resident this evening, so just as a reminder.
Thank you. Thank you, City Manager. I thought they were supposed to be like parabolic or something. They're supposed to be better. Is that the word, parabolic?
Go ahead, James.
All righty. Well, good evening, Mayor and City Council.
Good evening, James.
Oh, sorry.
I said good evening, James.
James Hurst, Director of Parks and Recreation. Today's presentation is kind of a twofold. We have the USTA here to present a presentation on the assessment and management of services proposal for the Southern Rec Center. And then I'll kind of do a follow-up presentation on kind of comparing apples to apples to that as well. So with that, Laura and George, I think Laura's first in the presentation, and she'll take it from here.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having us back. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm going to give you a couple of slides overview, and then George is going to actually drive this train. He wasn't there at our last meeting, but he was up at the U.S. Open for us, representing us in New York. So happy to have him back. We covered a couple of these slides last time, so I won't really go through them in detail, but this is part of our commitment to the city, which we've been engaging in for probably over a year now, and this is sort of our final phase of presenting our assessment report and offering a proposal for management services. What we're going to cover today are the findings of our assessment report, which was shared with the City Council and the city staff. We'll go over our comparison of the operating models as we know them today, and then go through our proposed contract, which includes some items that we wanted to follow up on with all of you, and what the next steps might be, and then turn it back over to James. So for my portion of the beginning, we did a resident survey, which we did in conjunction with our Community Outreach Day, held on March 1st, and we left a survey open for 2 months. We received 119 responses. Half of those respondents attended our Community Day event. The majority of them are pass holders at the Southern Rec Center. The majority were annual pass holders in both tennis and pickleball. We know you have a number of different types of passes. And only 2 of the respondents were combination pass holders. The majority of the players who responded played multiple times per week at the facility. So we think we got a good representation of the core players that are there. The survey helped us identify several high important areas. The pass holders were very satisfied with the current pricing. Adult recreational and adult competitive tournaments were very high on the list of what people in both spaces wanted to see. Pickleball drop-in play was very important to the participants. Programming and play options were the top priority. And respondents also mentioned that ease of registering and reserving courts is very important to them. Pro events were more desired in the tennis space. Stringing was a high priority, and there was a high interest for equipment and clothing sales. There were several concerns raised both in the comments and the questions we received during the event. We held a Q&A portion. Pricing changes were raised. We were asked that quite a bit. Pickleball being negatively affected. We heard that quite a bit or ignored. Concerns about staff and the impacts on current staff were raised. Court maintenance being kept up and more programming. So we took those findings back to our advisory team, and those were the things that we worked on. So I'm going to turn it over to George to go through the programming recommendations.
Thank you, Laura. Good evening, Mayor and Council, City Manager. My name is George Henry. In our assessment program recommendations, I'd like to describe, we'll start off with the pickleball programming. That was a major concern. Beginner organized open play, be led by pro-led. Organized open play would also have pro-led. Open play will be self-led. Pickle frenzy would be a pro play, pro-led. Pickleball stroke of the month clinic be led by the pro. Pickleball passport listed below could easily be enhanced by adding more programs, and that was one of the things we noticed. We have the option of offering more programs as needed, such as unlimited personal play when available, priority court reservation, you can book up to 7 days in advance, a 5% off resident rate for clinics, programs, tournaments, and private lessons, the ability to bring guests. Guests must pay fees and play with the pass holder. Organized play with the pro 4 times a week. Open play without a group and a pro 2 times a week. Okay. Recommended adult tennis programs. Beginner tennis, the perfect class for those who are new to tennis. Advanced beginner tennis for players beyond beginner level. Each session will work on fine-tuning basic skills and strokes. Intermediate tennis, basics are reviewed briefly in each class. In addition, our instructors will work with you and add elements like speed, power, and accuracy for your game. Tennis fitness classes. Hitting fitness is just that. Continuous feeding, hitting in doubles formation as the pro conducts the lesson. Cardio tennis can be a bit more instructional, but is still a very active workout. Family tennis programs, where you join your children mastering basics, beginner tennis skills in a large class setting with USTA curriculum is used. So recommended youth tennis programs from ages 3 to 18 recommend weekly tennis, weekly clinics and match play clubs grouped by age and ball color. It indicates the skills, games, and team challenges. Junior team tennis, JTT, co-ed recreational teams compete locally in a fun, inclusive format. Challenge days and tournaments. Entry-level competitive events designed to motivate growth and confidence. High school prep and performance pathway, such as junior academies. This will be specialized coaching for teams aiming to compete in school teams or in USTA events. Adaptive programs will also be a recommendation. Special Olympics, Love Serving Autism, wheelchair tennis, and other programs offered year-round. So, back to Laura.
Thanks, sir. This was one of the questions that we got, and we want to thank the Vice Mayor in particular. She sent us a lot of really good questions on the events and things that would come here. So USTA Florida hosts the majority of events that draw large populations from across the state. Those have the highest economic impact. We host most of them in Orlando at this point in time, but several are listed here that could potentially come to a facility like the Southern Rec Center. So some of those are listed, and potential dates for those are listed there. You already run 2 existing USTA Pro tournaments here. You did that in the past year. And then junior tournaments and adult tournaments are viable options for this community, as well as social events and other types of sectional events. So the economic impact for these types of events could be significant to the city and could double or triple over time. We're very judicious about not taking courts away from regular play, so the idea wouldn't be to host all of these at the same time. It's really to look at what benefits the community, what would be a good fit, and what would be most beneficial to the city from an economic perspective. And then following the survey results, there are a number of other offerings that we could do. Online court program and event reservations, we already do that, so that's something that from day one we could easily implement. Professional stringing services, we train all of our tennis and professional instructors to do stringing, and we use state-of-the-art machines for that. So that is something we provide. Clothing and equipment sales. Equipment's pretty straightforward. When it comes to clothing, it's really important for us to get input from the community and not take business away from other vendors that sell clothing for tennis or pickleball. We don't want to be a takeaway from businesses in the community, so we usually do an assessment of what they offer and make sure we're not competing with them, and then deliver what the community wants. And then on-court technology is something we're just starting to do that we implement at the facilities we manage, and that's electronic line calling and other type of AI coaching tools. We like the pricing structure that you have there. Our goal is not to change that, so we certainly want to keep that in place. What we do recommend, however, is that there could be an additional flat 5% discount on other types of services that aren't being offered for your pass holders. So one example would be stringing services, another example would be special events. So you give additional benefits to your annual pass holders, which make that a little more valuable than what it is today. Staffing-wise, we do believe the current staff that you have, including many of the pros who've reached out to us, are super valuable to this community. They do great work. We want to add to that. So we certainly would look to hire one certified full-time director of rackets. Mr. Henry is a certified full-time director of rackets. Up to 6 desk attendants. Those would be customer service professionals that work with your community when they come in to book things and to provide additional services. At least 5 additional instructors. So those could be instructors that are currently here if they choose to stay on. And then at least 3 dedicated maintenance staff. That could be up to 4 maintenance staff, which is similar to what other facilities of this size require in order to take care of their clay courts and maintain them in the highest condition. And then 1 full-time tournament and events coordinator. This is a new position that we're testing at one of our facilities. We realize that instructors spend a lot of time on the court, so running events on the weekends isn't always high on their list. So having a dedicated person that could do tournaments and special events and be dedicated to that and provide a high level of service is important to us. We did do a comparison model. I know it's small on the screen here. We sent it as a separate document as well. This has a lot of the comparison of what currently is there from what we were able to learn and what our operations do. So certainly open to questions or clarifications there, and I think James is going to provide you with a comparison also, so we can certainly take questions on that. Some of the things that we do that are a little bit different is certainly we hire everybody as an employee. We require and mandate that they're background checked, safe play approved, drug tested, and fingerprinted according to Florida law. That's super important to us. We also provide all marketing, IT support, and point-of-sale systems. So there's a lot that we do here that potentially could provide better service and help offset some of the overhead costs that the city would normally incur. And then, as we've mentioned before, we did a preliminary analysis of the financials. We provided that in our assessment report as well. In order for us to assess the current model with the independent contractor, we would need to do more detailed analysis with the city. But we do feel pretty confident that in terms of the expense side of the P&L, that we could save some money there. As it comes to direct expenses, most of that's in personnel, but there are some overhead expenses, like the ones I mentioned in terms of IT and other operational support that we could potentially save the city as well. So when it gets to the contract piece, this is just a summary of what we would be proposing: an initial term, which would run from January of 26 through the end of December in 2031, and a potential extension for an additional 3 years. There is a detailed scope of work provided to you in the sample contract, but the staff, the equipment, and resources to deliver the programs, events, instruction, and services outlined in the assessment are all part of our scope of work. And then there's some things listed here under the city scope of work, and I know there were some questions about that with the vice mayor that we did answer related to the scope of work for the court maintenance, and we provided some additional detail on that, which could be added to our scope of work as well. So really for us, the next steps today really are whether the city wishes to pursue a management services agreement with us and who is authorized to engage in those discussions with us. And then, of course, reviewing the assessment and ask any questions that we have. And we would hope that we would be able to schedule a follow-up meeting if number one comes to pass in the near future to review and finalize what terms you'd like to see in an agreement. And I think that's all from us. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, George. Okay, so now I'll be doing a presentation on our current operations at the Southern Recreation Center. So tennis has been a staple in our community, I think, since the beginning of ITT. Started with the old Players Club off of Palm Harbor Parkway there. And then when that closed, the tennis courts were moved to the original home at the Palm Coast Tennis Center, which is the Southern Recreation Center site today. It was opened in 2008, and then in 2010 received a outstanding facility award from the USTA. The Players Club and our tennis center hosted many to go on to be professional tennis players like Andre Agassi, Michael Chang, Monica Seles, Jimmy Connors, and Riley Opelka. And then in 2024 February, the facility was expanded to become the Southern Recreation Center. We added the permanent community building and then 12 extra pickleball courts, and then later on was the 5 extra courts. So here is our hours of operations. We are open Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., and then on Sundays, we are open from 8 to 2. Holidays, we have limited holiday closures, but we always make sure we check our attendance. We take daily attendance at the facility each day, every month. So we look at those when we're kind of looking to schedule our hours for the year. Our court schedule, so pickleball, we offer court times, kind of like drop-in times. We do instructional programs. I'll get into more of those details in the next few slides. And then obviously we have open play as well. Tennis, again, we offer court times, daily match settings, instructional clinics, workouts, private and group lessons, hitting sessions, and then also court reservations are allowed for tennis. Won't go through all of the admission rates, but here's just a quick snapshot of each of our annual rates for pickleball, tennis, and then we have a combination, which is obviously the combination between tennis and pickleball.
James, do you have the figure on hand how many people are residents as opposed to non-residents that have those passes?
I do not have a figure, but I would say that it is close to probably 98, 99% would be residents. Yeah.
Thank you.
So our current operation, so all our staff, all Parks and Recreation staff work community events. So that obviously is our tree lighting event, our parade, even our USTA tournaments. But at the current Southern Recreation Center, we have a Southern Recreation supervisor, customer service rep who is in charge of the room rentals, and kind of works at the front desk. We do have a maintenance worker, groundskeeper. We have facility and guest attendants that are seasonal, and then we also have some tennis and pickleball instructors as well. We do have some other staff that are kind of based out of that Southern Recreation Center. They take a hybrid kind of role, so a lot of our Zumba instructors, and they teach at multiple facilities. And we have, I think our pickleballers know, his name is Jojo. He's awesome at what he does. He also kind of oversees the athletics and pickleball stuff. But he comes out of the Parks and Recreation main budget. So here are the pickleball programs that are offered. So we do youth pickleball leagues and youth camps. The pickleball leagues are beginners and intermediate. Our adult programs is Welcome to Pickleball, Step Up Your Game, Double Tactics, Drilling, Stacking, Specialized Shots, Adult Camps, and Team Camps. And then we do a bunch of social play. We have private lessons. We do exclusive programming. We have our ladder leagues, which are very popular. And then also we have our popular tournaments like Pink and Pickle, Luck of the Pickle, Mother's Days. And those are city-run tournaments as well. When we take a look at our youth programs, our tennis programs, and some of these, we have rookie rallies, we have junior development, junior academy. We do a bunch of adult programs, group skills, adult camp, welcome to tennis, social play, able to reserve courts. We do have round robins. We do private lessons, exclusive programs, and we do work with Special Olympics there as well. Have a couple of leagues. So we have GVTL, which is the Greater Volusia Tennis League, and the Flagler Tennis League. And we have a USTA Summer League. And then we've had some, obviously, the pro tournaments that you heard, and then we have some sanctioned tournaments and UTR tournaments as well. Then it's just not pickleball and tennis. We do have 2 community rooms upstairs, and we do host a number of classes and social activities in those rooms. So we do have Zumba, yoga, belly dancing. We have some workshops on garden talks because of the community gardens. We have some senior living and memory care classes, support groups, and then Redefine Foods helps us with trivia night as well. And I know they've added karaoke nights and name that tune kind of nights as well. And we also have, it wasn't mentioned here, but we do have a table tennis where it's kind of volunteer run, come play table tennis. So we have that as well. Then we do have the rentals, which is mainly in our room closest to the tennis court. So we have some churches, we have parties, graduation parties, birthday parties, baby showers. The community groups use that room as well. So the American Legion, the Rotary, and the Kiwanis. We do some private tutoring, which is run by someone else. City of Palm Coast, we do some educational classes there as well as a city, and then we do some senior living classes. Then we have youth dance, theater practice, and youth karate, which karate is new. And then we hold the fitness expo, small business expo, and holiday parties as well. And we're getting ready to do a Halloween party over there and an event. So just quickly, here are some numbers that we've had in the Recreation Center. So we've had 482 activities. We've had 156 room rentals. Between Q1 and Q3 of this fiscal year, we've had 61,411 people check in. And all up, we've had 1,292 total pass holders, which exceeded our expectations, which is great to see. 65 were combo, 919 were pickleball, and 308 of those were tennis. We do partner with a few groups. So obviously I mentioned Redefine Food Company. We partner them with a few activities and programs. Friends of Tennis. We have the Florida Pickleball League, which They bring a big tournament to our facility. We have the pickleballers. We do a bunch of tournaments. Chamber of Commerce, we're partnered with them. We also continue to partner with the high school teams. They have the Palm Coast Cup. That's Matanzas versus FPC. Then we partner with the Tourism Development Council, the TDC, for the capital funding grant, which got us the extra pickleball courts when we first opened. And then obviously you heard before, the Florida Growth Catalyst Fund through the USTA for the additional 5 courts we just received earlier this year. And here's just kind of a brief snapshot of kind of our revenue breakdown so far. Year to date is Q1 to Q3, and as you can see, half of that is pickleball admission, so that's kind of pass holders, people coming in to play, just drop-ins, things like that. And then as you can see, it kind of goes around the pie chart here. And with that, we're here for any questions, the USTA or myself.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from the City Council?
I have one, Mr. Mayor.
Go right ahead.
James, so that pie chart with the revenue.
Sorry. Yep.
And that's year to date, it was like something like 380,000.
Something like, yeah.
How much of this revenue would we retain based on the proposal from the USTA?
It would be the private rentals and the general recreation activities, so like our programs and that community programs.
So based on that, that's about $14,000 to $15,000 of the 380.
Yeah.
I think my biggest question about this is, there's a focus, at least in the presentation from USTA, on expenditures and reducing our expenditures. But part of the equation is our revenues, right? So if we lose all of our revenues and we save a couple $100,000 in expenditures, net, we're losing money here if we do this. So I know you guys from the USTA estimated that you would save us $400,000, but that's only on the expenditure side, correct? Right. So net, it's not $400,000. Our operating, from my understanding, is $760,000 estimated for the year, roughly costs.
Roughly,
and then $400,000 in revenue. So that's a current loss of.
I do have exact numbers I got today, if you'd like to hear.
Okay, yeah, I'm just looking at, I guess, what you had prepared a week or two ago.
I looked this afternoon. Year to date, our revenue is at $418,880.69. We're expended $625,069.21.
Are there any big costs that are coming at the end of the year that are not variable?
No,
okay.
We've kind of.
So we can expect both to kind of grow at the same rate for this last 3 weeks or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That 418 does include our rental with Redefined Food, which is it's 408. Through programs, rentals, and those kind of general revenue, and then an extra 10,000 for Redefined Foods for their rent, which got us to the 418.
Right. So this basically puts us at
67% or so.
$207,000 loss on the facility for the year.
Around, yeah.
But then, based on your analysis of the proposal, even with the loss of the expenditures, losing all that revenue, we're potentially going to lose more.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's really my biggest holdup is that financially it looks like while there may be positives in terms of programming, economic impact for events, we don't have those. That's not defined, right? We don't know what those numbers are going to be or what they look like in terms of quality of the programming. In terms of that, I know the proposal includes additional staff, so the expectation would be a higher service level, right? When you walk in the building, there's more people serving you. So there are bumps in that, but it looks like we're paying for it, right? By doing that. And so that's my biggest holdup. That's the thing that I would have to be convinced on, to move forward with this.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you. I share a lot of your concerns with regards to the revenues and the expenditures, and I'm hesitant to make any big changes like this right now Because one, really the Southern Rec Center has only been fully operating for about a year and a half.
Yes.
So we really haven't had an opportunity to really see how it's going to perform. It's overperforming, as you stated. So it's like, are we fixing something that's not really broken right now? And that's how I kind of feel, because we field, I'm sure all of us field lots of concerns and complaints from our residents daily. I'll tell you, the Southern Rec Center isn't one of them. So I consistently hear how well the Southern Rec Center is doing. I met with the Friends of Tennis a few days ago, and there are things that could be improved, certainly. And so, in knowing that, but I had to ask for it, right? I had to solicit that. So, hey, what can we do? What can we improve? And I looked at it from both sides. If USTA comes in, what are your concerns? If we keep control, what are your concerns? What can we do better? So that had to be solicited. So I have a concern with kind of changing the model as it currently sits, when I don't really know that the residents are really wanting that. Additionally, I know that we have some pros out there, but I don't really feel like we've kind of let them spread their wings, because this possibility of the USTA coming in has been plausible for the last several months. So to really allow those pros to kind of get in there and do what they want to do and do the programming that I think some of our players want to see, I'm a little concerned that they haven't really had that opportunity yet. From a financial standpoint, and looking at the contract, I can see that we will still have to do a lot of maintenance for the clay courts, and that's a concern of mine. I did, and Laura, thank you very much for answering my questions, providing a lot of information, providing documentation. One of the things that concerns me about the contract itself is I do feel that the current scope of work for maintenance is a little vague, and I would like, if we decide as a council to move forward with the USTA, I would like more specifics with regards to that scope of work. Additionally, if you look at certain articles of the contract itself, I'm really uncomfortable with a little bit of the vagueness and this isn't anything with specific to the USTA. I'm like this with everybody we enter into contracts with, but holding their feet to the fire with regards to their duties under the contract. For instance, if you look at Article 27 where it says termination, it says the following shall be deemed as material obligations by the USTA. And one of the bullet points is substantial failure includes but not limited to malfeasance and complete failure to provide all services in the scope of work for a period of more than 45 days. To me, that indicates a low level of service. If there has to be, in order to terminate this contract, or if there's going to be a considered default under this contract, that there has to be complete failure for all services for 45 days, something's wrong if that's happening, right? So little things like this concern me, and I think that that's obviously something we could go back to the USDA, I would hope, and talk to them about to improve upon. As the contract sits right now, I'm not thrilled about some of the things like that. I also have a concern about the USTA taking over the social media for the Southern Rec Center. I would hope that that is something that could be collaborative between our staff and USTA. I'm not really comfortable just saying, hey, you guys can take control of our social media without having input as to that. I would like to see, James, from you, the financial breakdown of what it does cost to resurface our clay courts, because it seems to me that that onus will still be on the city. Mm-hmm. So when we're looking at the revenue versus the expenses, we have to consider the fact that we're not being alleviated of all of the maintenance expenses. We're still going to have expenses. Mm-hmm. So we can't look at this as, hey, USTA is taking over all the expenses. Yes, they're taking the revenues, but we won't be on the hook for any of those expenses. That's not true. So it's hard to make a decision right now with regards to how we're going to move forward without ensuring, without seeing exactly what those figures look like.
We can provide those figures. In the 2026 budget, we proposed $25,000 in our repair and maintenance, and a lot of that is to clay court and maintaining the clay courts.
So $25,000 for the full year?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and that would be to resurface how often?
Well, I'm sure there's better tennis maintenance people out there than I am, but what I've seen, and I did a little bit, it's we try and do it at least quarterly. Just try and put like 8 bags out on the courts. Sometimes we don't get to that. Hard True says monthly. I've seen that figure come around, but we try and do it quarterly if we can. If not, it's annually done as well.
Okay. Another thing that was brought to my attention, and I don't know the veracity of this would be a question for the USTA. We do have some of those other leagues that were mentioned. I think GVTL is one of the larger ones. Would the USTA still be working collaboratively with those leagues to make sure that they're still welcomed? I know that, they're a local competitor, but somewhat of a competitor. So are they still going to be welcomed to have their tournaments? And then will we make sure that bringing in some of these additional tournaments does not affect some of the drop-in play, the ability of all of our players to use the courts. Finally, and I apologize, I'm long-winded, I've fielded a lot of concerns on both sides of this issue, so I want to make sure I try to represent everybody's questions and interests. The last thing is obviously the big elephant in the room. How is this going to affect pickleball? I think there's a very large concern. We look at the revenue and we have double the amount of revenue for pickleball than we do tennis. So my concern is, will we see the same attention being given to pickleball, if not more, than what is given to tennis? Will there be capital improvements and investments put into pickleball? I know one thing that I would love to see down the road at the Southern Rec Center is a championship court for pickleball. I think that the tournaments that could be brought in for that would be astronomical for our community. So we really need to make sure that if we move forward with the USTA contract, all of these things are worked into the contract. It seems that it's not an adhesion contract. It's not a take it or leave it, which I can appreciate from the USTA. I see Laura nodding your head, so I appreciate that. As it stands, I think I still have some questions and want to make sure that if we do move forward in that vein, that a lot of these concerns can be resolved. But I also would like, as you stated, Councilman Miller, I would also like to see a little bit more detail as to the financials to see whether or not this is in fact the road we want to go down. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Anything? Yes, sir.
Yes. Thank you, Councilman Miller and our Vice Mayor, because those are all good ideas and thoughts about the process. So I would only add that we did invest $8 million to build this facility, and it's a really nice, modern facility, really world-class facility. So it's obvious that somebody coming into management is coming into a very good situation, and it's not that we need a whole bunch of improvements for the system. The tennis center and the Southern Recreation Center isn't working. And so I kind of go along. It's still a year and a half. We've put a big amount of funds into getting it started. It seems to be working pretty well. And I think we're still a little bit too early to do any major changing in the management. Now and I do worry about the scope of what costs remain with the city. I also never like, this is just me, I don't like organizations where you have 2 people in charge. And so you have that old problem of, one side saying, it's their fault, talk to the USTA side and go back the other way. So right now, I'm kind of in agreement with what Councilman Miller and Pontieri have said.
Thank you, Councilman. Yes, Councilman Gambaro.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, I echo a lot of your thoughts and concerns. But the numbers, all right, so we're $217,000 in the hole, is what you're telling us. If our expenditures are at $625,000, and if you take out Joey and the team there at Redefined Food Company, our revenues are $408,000.
Yeah.
As staff goes back and looks at the numbers, as the other council members have requested, we talked maintenance. But the big thing that got our attention during the golf course discussion was capital expenditures and planning for that going forward. What does that look like?
Yeah. So future, I can give you kind of like the plan for future capital.
Yeah, and I know it's a new facility too, right?
Yeah.
So but still,
not much not much to do with capital on the existing facility, but we obviously desperately need some parking. Extra parking, which can also help our revenue as well. And then our big master plan for the entire facility is extra pickleball courts, maintenance shed, and a toilet block for the tennis side of the complex
on
as
that
well.
side, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I think those are all things.
I couldn't estimate the cost of that.
Sure.
So.
No, but I mean, I think we need to look at that.
Yeah.
As we look at total costs overall, and so, and then, from a policy perspective, we made a big point during the golf course discussion that cost recovery is important to this council because we're all, kind of a conservative brand up here, and so, are we going to do the same thing here? Are we going to be fair and consistent with cost recovery across the board with our parks and recreation? Yes or no? I mean, we got to look at it. And if we're going to look at potentially outsourcing or contracting the management of the golf course, I think we got to look at all the options, but I think we need to understand the numbers before we can make a decision on anything. But my concern is from a policy perspective, which is this board's mandate. I think we need to take a look at to making sure that we're asking our staff to go take a look at this from a consistent perspective.
Thank you, sir. And for me, it is about full cost recovery, making sure we're zeroing out the lines, paying for it. It's paying for itself. That's what I want to see. You had a follow-up?
I just wanted to add, and I had advocated this way back, I think the first time we either talked about this or maybe the golf course, but, for the golf course, for me, it exists as something that is replicated in the private community, right? So there's other golf courses. Things like parks and trails and other facilities that only, at least for now, are provided by the city. I feel like gives it a slightly different look to it. I agree, and I think we should be doing the best we can to be as efficient as possible and make sure we're not losing money on these things. But if we're not running this, and this facility shuts down, then there's nothing like it, right? And so that's my primary concern, is that there's no other alternative for the residents in terms of these types of activities. And that goes into also the parks and trails and things like that only government can provide, because no private entity is creating a trail and letting people walk on it for free. So I think it gives it a slightly different look, but I agree on, trying to be as conservative as possible with the money and making sure that we're as close to cost recovery as possible.
And Mr. Mayor, that's why I asked the question, because this is why we're going to talk about it, and what is it that we want to do for the different.
I totally agree, and I think also because we're in the infancy of this, we don't know what the golf course. We know what that looks like for 20 years, right? In terms of revenue and things like that. We don't know what this looks like 2 years down the road or 3 years down the road in terms of revenue yet. I don't think it's plateaued in terms of where it's at.
Yeah, I just don't think we have enough information to make a decision.
I agree.
But I think it's worth going down the road of finding out that information so we can figure out what the best way forward is.
All right, thank you, sir. Any more comments from the council?
Just one small comment. I think regardless of the way that we move forward, one of the things that I think would help too, as far as the financials go, when you said the expenditures, were those expenditures split up between what it's costing to run the rest of the facility? In other words, the rooms that we rent out, that staff, et cetera, versus tennis and pickleball? Or was it everything in the Southern Rec Center?
That $625 is everything.
Okay, so I think that matters too, because you're talking about a lot of the expenses that are still going to exist. In other words, we're still going to be paying for power, we're still going to be paying for water. So those things, I think we need to. As you said, Councilman Gilmore, it just takes more analysis, truly. But I would like to see moving forward, maybe do another analysis now that we have players and people frequenting often, members, et cetera. What do they want to see? Because I know talking with the Friends of Tennis, I know we've discussed this, James, misting machines, more provisions for water, ice, things like that, electronic line call, things that competitive players want to see. So I think that'll help too with as far as a capital improvement plan. What do we need to plan out? What is that going to cost? So all of those things are really important as we move forward. But no, I appreciate the discussion and with regards to the policy, but I do agree with Councilman Miller as far as this being different from the golf course, just because there are private golf courses. There isn't a private tennis center, not that I'm aware of anyway, so not anywhere close.
In terms of some of the, sorry, Mr. Mayor, in terms of some of the, James, you had given me some information on estimates in terms of what those costs would look like, expenditures. So I don't know if they need to be updated based on this new numbers that you have from, the current year. But I think those numbers are available that we can share.
Yeah, those numbers I provided were from our 26 budget.
Okay. So what I'm seeing is that, currently we're at 625, right?
Mm-hmm.
Based on your estimates with the proposal, we would still have over $400,000 in expenditures, right?
With some of the utilities, some of those rates, yes.
Operating cost, salaries.
If we do community rooms, things like that, yeah.
So
And
it's still
no revenues.
Still right, and then no revenues to go along with it, right? So the revenues are offsetting $600,000 of cost currently, future state potentially $400,000 of cost, no revenue.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my concern, is that our net, we're losing more money potentially with as proposed. And I know, like I said, there's some trade-offs, right? There's potentially a higher service level. There's more events. There's things that could be better done there potentially with that trade-off, but then we're paying for that, right? So we have to make that decision on whether financially we think that's a good thing or not.
And to piggyback off of that too, I have requested the financials for a lot of the other facilities that are run by the USTA be provided to us, because I would like to see how that model is working for those facilities as well. It's really hard to ascertain after only a year and a half of operating, really, what does this look like for us, and how is it working for other facilities?
You mean for the municipality side of it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, if we were to have that information, that would probably be helpful as well.
All right, thank you. Let's open it up for public discussion. So if you're here to discuss the tennis facility, the Southern Recreation Facility, come forward. Yes, sir. Thank you. Now you can speak on the subject.
Michael Flanagan, 10 Point Doral Court. I play tennis all over the world, and I do play pickleball. We've got a very unique, great opportunity here. We spent a lot of money in this, and I ask you to keep in mind, it is part of Park and Recreation. So unlike a private tennis area where they have to fund their own expenditures, we're part of what's all Park and Recreation. So when you balance this, I ask you to make sure you keep that in mind too. From a USTA perspective, if I go to, if you're not a tennis player, this won't mean anything except the city of Cincinnati. Their tennis tournament there makes millions of dollars in the community now. And the USTA did a lot of work with the community on how to grow that. The part I don't see in the USTA's proposal, besides this nebulous number of $300,000, is what are they going to do over what time frame? What are they going to put into this? How are they going to publicize it? What are they going to do to generate even more? Any business plan should have something that shows, here's what we expect, here's what we'd like to get to. Speaking of expenditures, I live over in Grand Haven. We have 7 true court tennis courts. I don't know where you get $25,000, but we should get through you, because we're spending a whole lot more than that. So I'd ask you to take a look at the value we can get out of pickleball, because their courts are able to be expended, used more without having to be, resurfaced, versus tennis, and then work with the USTA to blend those and come up with a 3-year plan of how they're going to generate more revenue into the community. There's no reason that there are going to be millions of dollars spent in both food, hotels, and other things that are going to generate things for us here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello, Mayor, Council. I'm Dan Gibson. I'm with the Pickleball League, Florida Team Pickleball League. I live in the R section. I heard a lot. I've seen the presentation, James. Thank you. What I want to share with you all is, other than the numbers, you look into those numbers, there's people involved. There's not one day that representatives from our league sees JoJo or Dennis, say, what can we do to help with pickleball? We volunteer. We help run the tournaments. We run the Top Dog. We do anything we can to help our community, our pickleball courts. We feel that our league is getting forgotten about. We have over 400 members in Palm Coast, here in the Northeast, 700. Volusia County pales with the numbers we generate here in Flagler County for the league. Prior to the rec center, we had 2 gold medal winners in the state. This last season, we had 17. We sent 24 teams. Only 1 team did not medal. This is what this center has done for our community, our players. So that's, come on, be proud of that. We kicked ass. And I don't want to go back to Holland Park and put my nets up to play pickleball because something has happened to change the chemistry that we have developed together. We were in front of the council probably 3-4 years ago begging for a facility. You gave it to us. We gave you champions. Please. Thank you, James.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Tara Lynn Bernard, and I am a tennis player. I've been playing for years. I'm a pass holder, annual pass holder at Southern Recreational Center, and I would love for USTA to come in and assist them with the facility. I think that they can run this facility like a well-oiled machine. There have been times when I've spent $1,200, $2,400 at Southern Recreation Center on private packages only to show up, and there are not enough pros, or the pros stood me up. They were a no-show. Sometimes they were late with no apologies. I feel like it's just not being run effectively. And paying this much money annually, I want something in return. The GBTL League is very restrictive on who they allow to play. I've been told, go somewhere else and play. Why should I go somewhere else and play when I'm paying this facility $500 a year? So I think the USTA should come in, offer more tournaments. I play USTA in other cities, up and down Florida, different cities. However, I feel like if Southern Recreation Center had more USTA tournaments here, it would bring in money to the town. People come here, they get hotels, they spend at restaurants, they shop. I think it's a holistic approach that needs to be looked at, not just at the facility. But I do welcome USTA. I know that there are other facilities. They run it very well and proficiently. Right now, you call up to the center now, nobody knows what's going on. There's not enough programming. And I really feel like I shouldn't be paying $500 because I'm not getting anything back. Nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Jeannie Duarte. I do agree it's a brand new facility, and it's too soon to really tell. I wouldn't have even known about the facility if it wasn't for Ty Miller having his event there and being here. So I would like to see how they're getting it out there in the community to advertise. Also, I think the presentation was beautiful. However, for maybe future, there's some of us that actually print these presentations, and it's kind of redundant. And I am concerned that it's more redundant rather than it's not specific to budget. But in the future, maybe consider no background that's a dark background. And there's like 100 and some odd pages to this, and that's a lot of paper. And the black background was a ton of ink. So we're on a budget too. So maybe in future, try to simplify and condense some of that, because that was a lot of paper. Yeah. So anyways, but I would like to see more advertisement and see where it goes in the future. But it's a beautiful facility. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, I'm Mary Routson. Lauren can tell you 5-6 years ago, when she was the Parks and Rec director, she had 6, 8, 10 meetings of pickleball players. And what do we want? And we wanted dedicated pickleball courts in Palm Coast. And she kind of spearheaded this whole event, and it is an absolutely beautiful building, wonderful pickleball courts. Pickleball is being used 10 times more than tennis ever thought about being used. We're cheaper, the maintenance is lower, but we're supposed to have more of an amenity. There is still no dedicated pickleball court amenity in Palm Coast. So I ask you to think about this. Before, just the tennis center, you had a third party running it, they ran it in the ground, and you had to take it back. Don't let somebody else do that again. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Vasil Nikolov. First, I'm glad that we have this world-class facility, and I hope that we'll come to some agreement that we have to further develop it in the best possible way. Everywhere around the world, they don't put some contradiction between pickleball, tennis, and they try to do really racket sport facility that everybody can play, enjoy. I heard your concern about the expenditures, and I agree with this. I'm always for fiscal responsibility and what the taxpayers will pay about this, but most of these expenses, I don't believe that they are related with tennis and pickleball, straight, inside a recreational center. And I also would like to bring the question of who plays currently in this center. Vice Mayor Pontieri several times mentioned that I spoke with the friend of tennis, and most of them are my friends, but we're talking about average age of 75 or 80 or something. We need to bring the kids there. We need really to make some way of collaboration with the school district and see more kids playing pickleball, tennis, take them out of the streets and bring them there. When I came in this city 4 years ago, in the old recreational center, in the old tennis center, we had probably twice as much junior programs than now. I don't see now competitive players playing there. I think 2 or 3 of the other junior programs are not in existence anymore. I don't want to see something like this. It's not a... It's a sport that we have to bring older generations there and use this facility, not to stay empty. If you walk there some days, I don't see even a single person on these tennis courts. So I expect really somebody like USTA to bring this energy and the total economical effect on the city and all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Tony Amaral, City of Palm Coast. I want to thank you all for looking into this venture of, joint venture, public-private type deals. But you got to remember that this facility was built with millions of dollars that came from the community. The majority of it being paid for through impact fees, grants, and other such events. The first couple years, it was a big money pit. We sat there, we pumped money into it, we waited. We expanded it, we kept on increasing it. It's a good start. I have a hard time with the Section B of the contract where it essentially says all revenue goes to USTA, which means all expense goes to City of Palm Coast. And that's just going to make it even harder to swallow of a project that was paid for with local dollars, just built, spent, and then just given away almost. It's a start. I'm not saying USTA and the city can't come to an agreement, but it is something, and I appreciate Councilman Miller and Vice Mayor Pontieri speaking of the numbers. It's supposed to be beneficial for both, not just for one party over the other. Yes, we are a city. Yes, we provide certain facilities that no private facilities, provider is going to give to us, like the parks and the trails. But this is the classic example of there's money to be there. There's been plenty of money spent. So let's just keep that in mind. let this be the first real stepping stone on how the city plans on contracting with private partners for all ventures in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
That was well said. I'm Chantal Pröninger. I'm also very concerned about the financial side. I cannot understand why their rentals, special events, admission rates, and would not cover their cost, and why the city would have to pay $200,000+ to just make up with the extra part of the budget missing. Somebody talked about the trails. Okay, so the city pays for the trails, and obviously you can't make people pay for them because that would not be ethical. Well, I think the same way it is not ethical to have a group that is organized a certain way and make the city pay for it, because in the end, it's still people are free to use that or not. It's their hobby, it's their sport. I have to say honestly, I tried pickleball and I loved it, but I never wanted to get a subscription because I said to myself when I looked at it, I said, there's no way I can come one day and do it. There's not going to be any space. It's going to be busy. Somebody will be there before me. So, and it was confirmed by somebody who came at the microphone. The question is, are we willing to pay for some people's hobbies? Let's put it this another way. If I usually pay all my bills by the end of the month, but if I decided to use credit cards and not pay, would I expect the city to pay for those? Probably not. Most likely not. Absolutely not. So in the same way, I would say, it's still a new project, but because we involved already $8 million, it's not a reason to keep on putting that money if that group is not able to bring their finance together. And there's no reason why their income should not be sufficient and the city will have to pay for it. It's their sport, it's their hobbies, but it's just not right for the rest of us. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm Agnes Lightfoot. I live here in Palm Coast and have been here for the outset since the very first day that we opened up the tennis center. I love the way it is now. Why? Because we're doing some good things. But I want to make sure that you, the city council members, keep a couple things in mind. Maintenance. We got to maintain those courts. Otherwise, we lose all the beauty that we have now. The other thing, you have to develop, or we have to put together a youth program so that the young people and our new community, because we're growing, have some way to bring their kids to learn tennis. So we have to have that. Now, do we have to have it from the city or from the USTA? That's your job. But the other thing that I want you to keep in mind is pickleball. I want you to keep in mind because it is growing. Some of our local members here went to another city to play in a tournament. 500 people. That's revenue. We could grow the Southern Recreation Center just through our pickleball. Look at the numbers. They're already there. So I'd like for you to take a close look at that. I know you've gotten a lot of comments today. Some of it you've already been in touch with, but keep those things in mind. The maintenance of the facility, the youth program, and the pickleball program. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Lightfoot. Yes, sir.
My name is Mike McCauley. I'm a tennis player. I've been a resident for 27 years in the county. Dave Sullivan helped put together some pickleball courts with me a few years ago, and one of the questions that he kept asking was, what about the maintenance? Well, as you know, clay courts are a lot more expensive. $1,600 for a pallet of clay 2 inches of rain tomorrow and it's gone. Well, the city's got to, you got to come in and put another pallet down. If you don't, people slip and fall, break their ankles, or get hurt. The purpose of the clay, that's why you have a clay court, and that's why we play on clay. I would argue that you cannot be conservative on this issue. You must expand. I owned a business for 42 years. You can't sit around. You've got to expand. You've got to grow. USTA will make it grow. John Hudson is a friend of mine. I love John Hudson. I've known him. My first lesson was with John Hudson and his academy. I'd love to have John Hudson's academy come in, and also the USTA Florida. Now, your question that you ask about language, I think it's very important in your contract. Change the language, make it. You've got a lawyer over here, you're paying him a lot of money. Let's get the language set up so that you can be happy, that Dave can be happy, all of the council people can be happy, but it must expand. You cannot let it just be, we're just going to be conservative. You need it to grow, and I think the comment that was made about young people, between 3 o'clock and 7 o'clock, the courts are open. Okay, let's bring in those elementary school kids. That's what it's all about. Let's get some scholarships for those kids. Tennis is a very expensive sport. Lessons cost a lot of money. To do that, we got USTA. They can get a hold of that money. And I'm very important that young people expand with our program. And I think, any question? That's about it. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else for public comment? Yes, ma'am. You've already spoken, right? No, ma'am, you cannot. Okay, seeing no one, anyone else for public comment? Seeing no one come forward, we'll bring it back to the dais. So can we get a recommendation on way forward? We could say wait.
Just have one more comment.
Go right ahead, sir.
I was chairman of the Tourist Development Council when we agreed to the $700,000 plus as kind of seed money for the Southern Recreation Center. One of the keys on that was, and I didn't bring it up before, nobody else did, is that a lot of the justification, if you were there, was because it'll attract tourists into the city. So whatever way we go, I think that's another major point. Which way of going is better for attracting more tournaments and therefore tourists and heads in beds and that kind of thing? Because the justification for the Southern Recreation Center, a lot of it was based on the fact of the increase in tourism and therefore the improvement to the economy. So I think that's a part of it. No matter what we do as a final decision, that has to be an important part of the plan. That's all.
Well, it's part of the grant, so legally it has to be. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. So do we have any recommendations? I would say we could wait, go through a few more quarters and see how the Recreation Center is performing and revisit the topic. But I don't think there's any, I hate using that word, but there's any appetite from the city council at this moment to turn it over to an outside agency to manage, if I'm hearing everyone correctly.
For me, I just need more information. Right. And I think that this is a tough one because I see the potential on both sides, but I also see the risk. And without knowing those real figures, I don't think it's prudent on us to make a decision based on what's in front of us at the moment. But I also think that in the meantime, perhaps staff can go back to the USTA and talk about some of the comments from council and some of the concerns from the residents and try to work a lot of those issues out. Additionally, I would love to see John Hudson Academy still be able to be in place while the USTA is there. I think the one comment that really stuck with me is somebody said that there's people involved and this is our community. And I don't want us to lose that feel with the USTA coming in. I think that it's really important we try to hang on to that, not at the expense of $500,000 a year in losses, but I don't think that'll happen. I mean, I really think that this is just getting off the ground and there's a lot of revenue to be had. I also would be curious, and I don't need the answer to the question now because I think we have a lot of questions that need to be answered, but just because USTA is not managing, does that mean that tournaments cannot still take place? I mean, what is precluding tournaments from being at the SRC even if USTA is not managing it? So, I think that we just need more information, and I hope that this doesn't deter USTA, but rather imparts upon the USTA how important our community is to us and how important it is to us that we're making the right decision for the best of the community.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
So for me, it's the maintenance dollars, it's the capital projects. What's our vision? The parking lot, things of that nature. And like Councilman Sullivan said, the revenue. Can we put a plan together for hosting more pickleball tournaments if that's really a center of gravity? Can that help us drive into a direction where we're not in losing money every year?
Yeah, and we provide TDC with quarterly reports on what they require through the grant, and at the moment we're right on kind of track with the number of room nights and everything we submit.
Yeah, but I think our residents here, hit on something, and Councilman Sullivan, echoed it, and it's, let's come up with a real tangible plan to see what it looks like to host these pickleball tournaments in a way that we become the kind of center of gravity for the sport more so than we are now, and generate the revenue that can help us address many of the concerns that our residents have. So, again, we need more information, I think, before we can make a decision.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anything else from the council?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I agree. I think that ultimately, in the long-term effort to get it to cost recovery, that type of strategy is probably the most effective in terms of growing, having these tournaments that impact us economically throughout the city in maybe a way that's not tangible for the city, but it is for the community and the economy of the community, jobs and those things. So totally on board with that. And also knowing, what our capital improvement plan is going forward, what strategies we can put in place to grow the revenue, to get us closer. We've been getting closer, and we need to continue and surpass that to where we're, maybe as Councilman Gambaro said, we're where everybody else comes to play within the Northeast region, and that makes us not a cost center, but a center for revenue for the Parks and Recreation Department.
Thank you, James. What's the status of the parking with FP&L? Are you squared away on that?
So it was a couple of weeks ago, City Council approved an agreement with FPL to at least start the agreement for parking underneath the power lines. Okay. Then it will be we'll probably look at temporary parking, put millings down, and that will be done in-house, but I don't really have a date as of this time.
Okay, thank you. I just want an update on that. So you have the direction you need from council?
Yeah.
City manager, you got the direction you need from council? Ladies, I'm sorry, but public comment on the subject is over. I'm sorry for letting you stand that long. Yes, Mayor. Okay, so we have the direction needed. We're moving on. We're moving on to the discussion of city manager search. Mrs. Fuller, I hope I accommodated everyone that were here for that topic. You're more than welcome to stay.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor, City Council.
Ms. Fuller, give the room a few minutes, okay? Thank you. Sierra, take it outside. You're okay. We know you're old. Okay, Ms. Fuller, the floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Renina Fuller, Director of Human Resources. I'm joined by Ashley Finner, our HR Coordinator. We're here this evening to provide you with an update on the candidates you have each selected to move forward in the recruitment process. To recap the application pool, we received a total of 112 applications. Of those, 90 applications hold a bachelor's degree and 69 have master's degree. At the August 26 workshop, Council provided direction that each member would bring or submit their list of top applicants. The agreed upon process was that any applicant receiving selections from at least 3 council members would move forward to the next stage. This evening, we are here to present those candidates who met that threshold and are recommended to continue in the process based on your selections. This slide represents the candidates that selected by council. Please note that this list is presented in alphabetical order based on the number of marks received. Each council member has been provided with a copy of the candidates' resumes organized according to the list.
Can you go back just a second, Ms. Fuller? Okay, I'm good. Everybody else good?
Yeah, I looked at it.
So we're seeking a direction from council on how council wishes to proceed with the narrowing down of the current list of selected candidates. Your feedback today will help us guide the next steps of the process.
Thank you, ma'am. Council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilman Geber.
So just a couple items. One, I just wanted to ask the council if any of us personally know any of the applicants that applied.
Does anyone
I don't.
Does anyone know
Not anybody on this list.
Can you go back to the list? I don't think anybody that I know is on this list. No.
Okay. And then
I think you would know, Ty.
I haven't seen this until just now.
No, I'm talking about you've seen all the applications. That's what
No, I just didn't know who made the who made the final.
You had somebody you knew that were on the initial list?
Yeah, there's a couple people from
really?
Palm Coast.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No worries.
Okay.
You too?
Just one.
Okay.
I was kind of impressed. I thought it was fairly consistent.
Yes.
We looked at
Well, I told Lauren today I was surprised that so many of us put those top 4 with those total 4 that all of us agreed on those individuals.
me on one.
I did want to just highlight one candidate that I think got 2 votes, and that was so I picked 2, Norman West and Anthony Shembri, because when I looked at the requirements that were posted in our advertisement, it was clear that we were looking for an executive, somebody that had multiple years of experience. Vice Mayor, you made it a really big deal about having budget experience going forward. And so when I looked at Norman West and removing the fact that he's a brigadier general, which to me, that's somebody that's achieved and become an executive, right? But removing that, just looking at his record, you look at his resume, CEO, Chief of Staff of the Defense Health Agency. Okay? That's an organization that manages 9.6 million patients, 45 hospitals, 93 medical, dental, veterinary clinics. Vice Mayor managed over a program and budget of over $56 billion. And then as a commander or the command surgeon for Air Mobility Command, $1.4 billion, managed 5,000 medical personnel. So this is somebody that is an executive that knows how to manage staff, that knows how to manage budgets, and has done it under austere conditions. Commanded the medical task force in Afghanistan. All right, and it wasn't just U.S. forces; it was NATO coalition. So what does that mean? That means all of our NATO partners that served in the ISAF mission, right? So somebody that knows how to lead in a way that can work with people from different backgrounds, languages, and everything else.
I can tell you that's exponentially harder than just managing U.S. forces.
Absolutely, that's why I'm bringing it up. Yeah, it's so when I look at an executive, out of all the applicants that we received, Mr. Shembri and Mr. West were the 2 that really jumped out at me based on what we had in the advertisement, but also what we shared were some of our concerns. And so, in addition to the group that's captured here, I think Mr. West is probably somebody we should at least have a conversation with going forward. The other thing is, and we can talk through this, in a little bit, but, I want to make sure that as we move forward, we do a good background check, okay? And Mr. West has an active TSSCI, right? Top secret, special compartmentalized clearance, which they just don't hand that out. And so from a vetting perspective, I think that's helpful in knowing that we're going to get somebody that the background has been very well vetted and brings leadership as a proven executive, as a potential candidate. And then that's not even counting the stuff that he's done in the private sector since he's retired from the Air Force. 1, 2, 3, 4 master's degrees. And so, yeah.
No, you don't.
But in any case, I just offer that up for the council's consideration. I think if we're looking for executives, that may be somebody we should talk to going forward.
Okay, so how do you guys want to proceed? I would recommend with what Councilman Garambaro just said is those top 4 plus Mr. West, go with those 5. Did we have something that came up on some background on one of those candidates? I thought Pierre published something about being terminated.
I think he did. I'm not sure what the reasoning be. I'm pretty sure it was a council that terminated him, which we know in some ways can be politically motivated. So I don't know the details of it. I think I skimmed through that same article and saw a mention of that as well.
Well, yeah. So that's what I would, my recommendation. And the only reason I don't think I had West up in my list was because of the field. All pretty much all military, no, really municipality employment, anything that, and I kind of gravitate towards combat arms officers, not admin medical. So that's just my personal take on it. But I have no problem interviewing the gentleman. So any comments from the council as far as moving forward?
Yeah, I have a problem changing the process that we agreed upon. So then do we get into, well, I like this person and Councilman Sullivan likes this person and Councilman Miller likes this person. We agreed on a process to move forward, and I think we've come up with a really good list of candidates, and I would be really hesitant to kind of cut right now. I was going to make the suggestion that we all submit 2 questions. They have 3 minutes to answer each question, and they do it via kind of a video interview, and then we narrow after that, because we have based this narrowing process off of maybe a page or 2 on each one of these candidates. I think that's pretty unfair to then cut. We had 115 applicants? 112. So 112, I think we did a pretty good job distilling down to this. Perhaps we give them a little bit of time to answer 2 questions from each of us. Quick 3 minutes, that's 30 minutes a person. I think that's pretty fair for these ones. And then narrow after that. I'm just hesitant to cut immediately. And I certainly don't think that we should be adding anybody additional that has not made it through this first step, because that was the agreed upon process.
Okay, so we have. So you're saying you want to just go with the top 4 people with the 4 votes, or
no? I'm saying we allow each one of these to submit a video
all of these
interview
people on the list.
We agreed to a process for these people to get them down to 5 to 8.
I think I was more concerned with narrowing it down and not keeping all these people on the hook. But that's okay if that's what that's what the council agrees to.
Well, I know Councilman Miller also had Mr. West on the list.
I had him ranked fairly high. He may have been my number 1.
So that's at least 3. I think we'd be making a mistake not having a conversation with Mr. West.
Well, this is just us. How many's on this list, Ms. Fuller?
11.
There's 11.
Yes, sir. You
have my consensus to add 1 more. I have no problem with that. If that's the three the three.
So the criteria was as long as 3 people, right?
Correct.
Well,
Yeah.
I didn't go that deep. I didn't tag 25 people. I did like 8, Miss Fuller.
I think you did about 18.
I sent you 18. Wow.
Well, it was a lot of applicants.
Okay. So are you good with that, Councilman Sullivan? Did you take a good look at the?
I did. I think
generals?
I had 14, and I think.
No, I'm
8.
saying as far as the general was concerned. Did you take a look at this?
Yeah, I have. Sometimes I thought some of the were more academic type people, as opposed to. I was looking for people who really were involved with cities and counties and experience and that kind of thing. I have no problem with the general. I mean, I would be shocked if he ended up being the right
If it
person.
could translate, because I agree, it's a very impressive resume, but is it right for this? And I just didn't feel it was right for this.
Okay, so
I mean, I looked at them all. I mean, you know.
Okay, we have consensus to. Sorry, Vice Mayor, to add one more, being Mr. West.
And we'll just append that to this list, so we have 12
Yeah, so
to
we'll
whittle
have
down.
12 total. And you got enough guidance with that, Ms. Fuller?
Yes, sir.
And how soon would you need our 2 questions each to send it out to the?
Well, okay. So sorry. The recommendation was 2 questions, and what was that? Because we were kind of also going back and forth about.
Yeah, no, I just suggested 2 questions. They have 3 minutes to answer each question.
Video response.
Video response. That's then it's kind of similar to the process we had last time.
Right.
And then we at another meeting we narrow from there.
I'm good with that. I think that's good as long as.
Yeah, I just would say one other question is, are they still interested in doing this? Just to make sure, if we think we have 12, let's.
Have we engaged with these applicants at all to tell them that they've made a cut?
Yeah.
No, not the 11. I have not
Okay.
contacted
Okay,
them,
well-
but they have been. I have been in contact with them, keeping them apprised of the process.
Okay, so they know the process is ongoing.
We need that soonest, Ms. Fuller, to reach out to those 12
Yes,
and
sir.
say, hey, look, you caught our eye. You're still in the hunt.
I will do
Mr.
that.
Mayor, so just want to help here. Is like Ms. Fuller, what is the ETA on like being able to reach out to these people, get them to respond? Like, what would logistically, earliest you could do that?
I can email them
We'll do
first thing in the morning. It's a matter of them getting back to me at that point, and if they don't email me back within a day, then I can give them calls.
I
If that
think
works
his
for you.
question is for as far as managing expectations, right? How long what's reasonable to give them time to prepare and present, their best, but also, we want to get moving as well. To the mayor's point, and the video is really important. I think a lot of us saw what people looked like on paper, and then when they presented, we're like, man, we don't know if this is the right thing to do, right? And so this is really important. We want to get that right as well.
And also, Ms. Pontieri, you brought up the questions. Did you say what type of questions you want asked? I didn't hear that, so.
I think just 2 questions from everybody, but then we need to figure out when.
No overlapping questions.
Yeah.
So, Ms. Fuller, you're going to be the one that guides that process. And hey, you and the vice mayor asked the same question. Do you feel like you could ask a different question?
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, does that mean we'd be asking each person in this stage 10 questions?
Yes, sir.
10 questions, 30 minutes. It's a 30-minute
30-minute interview. Yeah, that's fair.
And anything else?
This is the final 12.
Oh,
of
I'm
a
sorry. We
very
need a
important
backward
job. so.
plan. We need a backward plan on when we want to actually do physical present interviews. So that's what we need to figure out.
Yeah, that's what the logistics, like getting through this stage and how you guys can forecast getting to the next stage, timing-wise.
At what point are background checks done, right? Is it the next stage, or do we do it here?
We don't do background checks until they have a conditional offer.
Yeah, but
Fingerprinting with a level 2 background.
I can get somebody to do a background check.
yeah, I bet you can.
Talk to the guy about the
Yeah, but
got a guy.
No, but I mean, is that something that we want to do this far out?
Yeah, and I mean,
That way we don't.
No, we don't do it, but we can request those, right, for them to submit themselves to that.
Could we do that? That as a
That's a Marcus question. I
I
think
mean,
I had asked
could we
earlier.
ask them one, because if you're especially
So I guess what type of background are you asking for, and then you're wanting these applicants to pay for that background check is what I'm
that's
getting.
a level 2, right?
So that's running around $60, give or take.
We willing to
Depends on
invest
who it comes
$60
through.
on these 12 people, or we want to wait until the next step? Next step.
Okay, that's the question.
There we go.
Yeah.
We're whittling it.
I'm good with that if everybody else is comfortable. Either way, we'll get the answer right. Barring all 6 of our finalists having histories that were unbeknownst to us. So,
Okay, Ms. Fuller, you got what you need.
Yes, you will be sending me, each one of you will be sending me 2 questions.
Yes. And
When do you want those by?
I would say as soon as possible.
Friday?
give us a suspense, Ms. Fuller.
When do you want the videos back to you and you guys discussing this at another workshop? Do you, right, the tentative schedule on your screen there says September 23rd. So is that too soon? Is that...
It's 2 weeks, that's
It's
pretty tight.
probably...
If we can get the questions to Ms. Fuller by the end of the week, there shouldn't, if someone is really motivated to find a job and this is where they want to be, I don't think they would have a problem answering those questions.
I agree. Like, I've been part of corporate job searches. Sorry. I've been part of corporate job searches that, you know, the expectation is a fairly quick turnaround in this. It's not, you get a month to send me answers to questions. You know, people are looking to hire and hire quickly and make a decision about a large pool of candidates very quickly. This is very similar to that.
Okay, so we're going with the end of week questions to you, Ms. Fuller.
That's correct. And so you are expecting them to have their answers back to you, and you have already reviewed them prior to the September 23rd workshop. Is that correct?
Sounds good to me.
So what is the deadline that you want to give the candidates that gives you enough time to review? Do you want...
I would say at least Thursday the 16th. Gives us basically the weekend. Is that enough?
All of them?
Thursday.
Well, does that mean we should accelerate our timeline with the questions? Because that gives them less than a week to
I
respond,
can
right?
get mine to Ms. Fuller tomorrow. Just nobody take the ethical dilemma question because that's mine. That's one of my questions. So are we good? Are we good with that?
Do you have the timeline? I'm going to be honest, I couldn't hear the timeline, so I'm trying to
Yes.
keep up with you guys. Ms. Fuller has it. Okay.
If I can get everyone's questions by Wednesday or Thursday of this week, then I can get them out to the candidates. We will give them a deadline of next Thursday, and then we will come back to council on the 23rd.
Okay.
So they will respond by the 18th. Council will have...
The responses by the 18th, on the 18th.
Yeah, they will respond by the September 18th.
Correct.
And then...
Oh, Thursday, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, and then council will be ready by September 23rd at that, and that's a daytime workshop. Sorry, trying to keep track.
You'll watch videos? Is that
Yes.
Yeah, you'll get them in an email and you can look at them at your leisure.
And just one more thing, Mayor. We don't have the same softwares that your previous consultant have to running like social media checks and their name through databases on previous articles. So, I mean, we can Google their names and put that in a folder for you, but we don't have that same type of software that your previous consultant did. So I didn't know if that's important to you or not.
That's on Ms. Fuller.
If you want that, we will do...
And your crew.
We
You
can
and
do
your crew.
searches, but what
Yeah.
we'll find, we'll look at social media searches and we'll look at Google.
If something's glaring, like spousal abuse, DUIs, something like that, say, hey, ding, ding, ding. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So are we good? Council's good? Thumbs up. Okay. We'll open this up for public comment. Yes, ma'am.
Chantal Prelinger. You're looking for somebody who has the ability, who knows what they're doing, and I understand that. But I'm wondering about how about having a peacemaker, having somebody who has human abilities to get things done, who gets along with other people, who has moral values, integrity, who relates well to those they have authority over. Is there any way to get in touch with people who have worked with them and know what kind of personality they have? Because you're going to be stuck with that person.
Thank you, ma'am. And most applicants submit references, so they provide people that they feel will speak highly of them. So Any more public comment? No one, seeing no one come. Miss Henry. Yes, ma'am.
I didn't get the full agenda package this week, so I don't know if resumes and stuff were attached. But I would like to see where these people are located now. I mean, just a name doesn't give you much information for us as residents. So maybe I want to research them myself.
Yes, ma'am.
Chat GBT,
Reach out to Miss Fuller. She'll give you that information.
I have that now. You would like it?
How many do we have in the state of Florida, Miss Fuller?
We have 5 of the 11. I did it on 11, not the 12th one. Are reside in the state of Florida. The others are from Arkansas, California, Georgia, Illinois, Wyoming, and Michigan.
I'd like to go to Wyoming myself. I don't know why they want to come here. Okay, so that's your answer, Miss Henry. But if you need some more follow-up information, just hit one of the council up. We'll get it to you. Any follow-ups with the council? Okay, we're moving on. We're moving to presentation 3, administration of the Cultural Art Grant Program Agreement with Flagler County Cultural Council.
Mayor, City Council, as you requested at the end of one of your meetings to review the agreement with Flagler County Cultural Council, James has created a presentation to walk you through that agreement, and we will take any direction that you have.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. James Hurst, Director of Parks and Recreation. So the agenda tonight is to kind of go through the renewal agreement with FC3 and the Cultural Art Program. So we'll go through some terms, the administration of the Cultural Art Grant, FC3 scope of services, the city scope of services, and then lastly, financial responsibilities and records. So the current term was approved on October 1st of 2024 and is valid through September 30th, 2025. Option to renew for 2 additional 1-year terms with a 60-day notice, which we enacted less than 60 days ago, but we enacted this. And then either party may terminate without a cause with 90 days of written notice. So really quick on the administration of the Cultural Art Grant. City Council shall have the ultimate discretion to determine proposals shall be awarded, the amount of the grant awarded, modify recommendation, and also reserves the right not to award any grant funding. The city retains complete control and final decision-making authority over all financial aspects of the grant program. FC3 and the city meet once a quarter, which we're currently doing. Next one is in October. FC3 shall not award grant funds to itself or shall award any grant funds to the current individuals and or organizations on the established panel. FC3 shall not utilize grant funds to re-grant or underwrite other FC3 programs. And the city has the right to refuse any grant award for any reason. So here are the scope of services for FC3. So the above is just outlining that the FC3 is the Art Council for Flagler County. They are dedicated to enriching the lives of residents and visitors, and their mission is to seek and provide resources that promote and support the arts, culture, and history in the community. So just kind of going through the FC3. FC3 shall develop and maintain cultural art grant proposal application. FC3 will establish an impartial panel of subject matter experts who are tasked with accepting, reviewing, and scoring applications. In collaboration with the city, we'll organise a public meeting before the city's governing board, which I'll get to right at the end, for next fiscal year. And FC3 will prepare a comprehensive presentation to City Council that summarises their grant process and grantees. Some scope of services that the city does is we follow our financial policies and monitor its budget calendar to ensure that grant funds are secured in a timely manner. City shall develop and maintain a cultural art agreement with approved grantees. City representatives shall coordinate meetings with FC3 once per quarter. City shall create purchase orders and receive, review, and process the invoices for the organization awarded grant funding. So financial responsibilities and records. So the city shall create the cultural art grant agreement and purchase orders and shall process the payment of invoices to the organization. FC3 shall provide the city with most documentation that is required for these processes each fiscal year. And upon written request from the city manager or designee to reasonably inspect any book, documents, papers, and records that pertain to FC3's management of the cultural art grant, for the purpose of the city performing an audit, examination, or other review of the program. There is a bit of a typo on this one. So our next steps will be to go to council next week, September 16th, for approval at the business meeting. And then we plan to bring the 2026 fiscal year grantee awardees on October 14th. The FC3 will present that on October 14th. And with that, we do have a representative here from FC3 in case you have any other questions. Julia is here in the back. But that concludes our presentation. It's kind of like an highlight of the agreement. Yeah.
All right, thank you, sir. Any comments from the council?
I just want to make a general comment. I know that this was the first year that FC3 managed these grants. I think it's safe to say we had a few hiccups, but I also understand that FC3 has made some stark effort to improve the process, improve the program. I appreciate, I believe the county attorney is actually coming to the next FC3 meeting to talk about operating under the sunshine and what that means, how that's applicable, et cetera, which I think can only improve the process and the transparency granted to a process like this. So I appreciate that as well. So I just hope that as we move forward, we can have a smooth process working in concert with our other organizations in the community and our staff. So thank you. And thank you, Julia, for being here.
Yes, Councilman.
Some experience on FC3. Because it was a 501c3 when we set it up, elected officials could only be ex officio members of the board. With the sunshine laws now taking effect, would that enable, say, one member from the county commission, elected member, and say one elected official from the council here? Could they then be voting members? In other words, if you're ex officio member, you couldn't actually vote. And so is that one of the items that you're going to address now that we've decided it's going to have to be announced meetings, open to the public, all that kind of thing? So Teresa, you might be more up to speed on that than I am.
I haven't asked about that, but I almost feel like there would still be somewhat of a conflict in that. So I wouldn't really be comfortable with that just because we're voting on things like kind of in both capacities, but with some of the same monies. So.
I was just trying to, one of the problems apparently in last year was we felt, I think that at least the council, from what I heard, I wasn't there. Well, no, I wasn't here. That there was problems with kind of management and decision making and personalities and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So I think if you watch the meetings and if you listened to some of the meetings where the grant interviews were taking place, yes, I think we voiced some concerns up here about how that went. But at the end of the day, the city council has final decision making authority with regards to how the grants are awarded. So even if FC3 does not recommend to us a certain applicant getting a grant, but we as council feel it's appropriate, we can override that. Likewise, if FC3 says we feel some organization should get a certain amount of a grant, but we as council feel differently, we can override that. So,
because there's always been someone from the council at the meetings when I was there, and I think that's still you.
It is me, yes. Mm-hmm.
And I think, is it Pam Richardson now?
Pam and Leanne.
And yeah, so you're representative. The problem, as I see it, is you don't get to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else from the council? Councilman Gambaro? Councilman Miller? Well, I have a stark opinion on this whole process, and I think FC3 has been a complete failure for the city of Palm Coast. I have never seen hyperpartisanship and pettiness on a nonpartisan organization that can't follow simple Robert's rules. And I will not support renewing this contract at all. I want it to come back to the city, have our bureaucrats within the city do it, because I do not feel that the partisanship and the pettiness that went on in FC3 should be tolerated by the taxpayers of this community. And I'm adamant about that. When someone attacks someone that's representing a nonpartisan and a 501c3 strictly because they know the mayor, and I have no problems with Peter Johnson, whatever that article said. I have no problem with Peter. Peter actually brought to light some of the things that were happening in FC3. First it was requiring membership in FC3 to even be eligible. Then it was the wanting to install non-disclosure agreements to be part of the organization. So for me personally, as the mayor of this city, I will not support renewing that contract with FC3. I've already spoken to Lauren about bringing it back within our organization and having our city employees staff it and do it the way we used to do it, because I am not willing to turn over $100,000 to partisan, petty hacks, period.
But you're not. We still have final decision-making authority on that. The problem is the problem is the one applicant that I would have been very happy to see a grant go to that didn't get money withdrew their application. So at the end of the day,
that's because that applicant has sat on nonprofits before and knows full well that nonprofit organizations have to follow Robert's rules, do minutes, take notes, do exactly what they're supposed to do as a SMEs. We do not have SMEs, as James mentioned. We do not have SMEs in the FC3. We have people in the TDC that are part of the FC3, which there should be no blending of those two organizations. As far as I'm concerned, TDC should go away. We should not have a TDC. All that money that goes to TDC should be strictly allocated for the beaches. That's my personal opinion. But I am not going to sign off on this contract. You will not get my vote on that.
James, how much staff time was spent when we were evaluating and administering these grants?
Quite a bit. So it would be on myself and our staff assistant. We would make the PowerPoint presentation, reach out to the groups. We would advertise for the grant process, at the time we had different levels, so we created the application. For both levels, we had a level 1 and a level 2. Then we would have a board of five or so city members, which I would chair. Then once that was about an hour or so, half an hour meeting, maybe 45 minutes depending. And then the process starts, then coming to council for presentation, then approval, and then we would go through the financial process right now as we currently do. So creating the contracts, creating the POs, sending out the money, keeping track, things like that.
And that was a collateral duty that falls under that 10-15% of additional duties as outlined by supervisor, correct?
Can you repeat that question, sorry?
It was a collateral duty, meaning that falls into the scope of someone's job description. An additional 10% is allocated for other matters needed by your supervisor or the organization.
As the director of Parks and Recreation, it kind of came under my scope, yeah.
Thank you. You have something, Councilman Gambaro?
No, I just wanted to make sure that he understood collateral meant additional duty.
I have a question. With regards to, I understand now FC3 is doing 2 instructional classes on helping applicants fill out the grant application. Was that existent? Was that offered by staff when you all?
No, it was kind of like we sent out the application, and we were there to answer questions if they had them, but no workshop or anything like that, no.
Okay. And isn't it a requirement now? Julie, it's a requirement now? Yes, you're nodding your head. Yes, okay.
And I'd spoken with Lauren today about it. Mr. Duffy was on the line too, about our grant writer kind of having some role in there, because that person is versed in grant writing, along with Patrick Giuliano, because Patrick knows how to do grants, and Patrick is a nonpartisan. I am not willing to have strictly partisan people, taking care of city funds that going to outside the city. You know, we did something for the Historic Society. You guys approved that. The Historic Society of the county. That is not the city. We are a city. The monies and revenues that are in our city should be for activities and organizations within our city.
But Mayor, the time to make those statements is when we approve the grants. We already did that. None of this was brought up. And by the way, FC3 was not previously advised to operate under the sunshine. So I actually had to push on the county attorney and find an attorney general opinion that said, no, I'm fairly certain that they qualify for, or they must operate under sunshine based on this attorney general opinion. And you know, actually asked to look at this again. So they weren't advised. I think we're being very unfair. I don't know why you continue to accuse them of engaging in partisan politics. We never talk about politics during those meetings. Perhaps you know something I don't. But at the end of the day, I think we have a group that has volunteered to take a pretty heavy lift from city staff, which we are constantly engaging in ways to try to save monies, be more efficient. And in my opinion, when you have a group of people who, you know, this is what they do collectively, and more often than, no offense to James, but James Hurst, when it comes to when it comes to grants administration. So I hear the concerns about the process last year. I think that, again, because it was the first year, we had some hiccups. I think that there was some oil and water as far as personalities go. You're going to have that sometimes. But I don't think that we can blame FC3 as a whole group and then throw TDC into it. TDC is incredibly important for this county, and throw the baby out with the bathwater. So I think they've instituted improvements. They're going to be operating under sunshine. I support them administering these grants for 1 year, at least one more year. It's a 1 year extension of the contract, and let's see. Hopefully, these issues will not repeat themselves.
You've got one member of that board that's facing a defamation lawsuit for the things that's happened in the past 6 months.
Well, then that will figure itself out in the legal system.
Okay. Any more comments on this matter? Just for the record, I will not be voting to renew this contract. Any further comments from the council?
No, sir.
It is on the agenda for next week that you already have, so I just wanted to make sure that you all were aware of that.
Any comments from the council? City Attorney? Public comment first. I got that part. We're going to open it up for public comment. If you have any public comments, please come forward.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name is Julia Truillo. I am the treasurer for FC3. I am also the grant administrator for these grants. I want to point out to you a couple of small things. As Councilman Ponchieri has mentioned, this is a volunteer operation, though we work under contract. Roughly 200 hours of volunteer time so far this year have gone into this process. I am an experienced nonprofit person. I have spent my entire working life as a nonprofit administrator. I have sat on grant panels reading grants. I have written grants. For the state, for other counties, I know the grant process. And so when we took this on, I was asked to look at the process and to put it together. We invested in software, which helps both the grantees and the people who are running the grants. For many years, the City of Palm Coast grants have been paper grants, which adds a layer of work to the staff. These grants now are all online. All the materials are online, and all the backup for all the materials are online. All of that has been shared with the city at their request and with the grant applicants at their request. So, 200 free hours of service. In the last year, the grant committee met in December, software was purchased, the grants were open to the public in February, and the grant window, we had a rapid grant window for the first time, which probably accounted for some of our errors. Grant window closed February 28th, giving us 2 weeks longer than the state of Florida gave their applicants this year. Grant review panel met on March the 7th. Council approved the first grant on March 18th. Second grant window opened on March 28th. Second grant window closed on April 30th, much longer application period. Grant review panel met on May the 12th, and you approved those grants on June 17th. At that point, we met with the city and were asked if we would continue, given the fact that you would not approve the budget number for the grant until after we did the grant process. In order to fit your fiscal year, we would have to accept grants and review them and present them to you before there was money available. We went ahead with that. The grant window opened on July 14th. We did 2 grant workshops. Sorry, I know I'm out of time.
If you have short, finish up, please.
Okay. Grant window closed on August 22nd. We received 8 grants. The panel met September 4th, and those numbers were forwarded to the city on Monday, September 8th. So we have been timely in our process, and we have been straightforward. I don't think there's anything that we have done, aside from the personal arguments that you referred to, that has been in any way unprofessional or wrong. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have about the process or what we are doing. But that is it in a nutshell. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else for public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Risa Pabst. I'm here this evening not to keep beating a dead horse, but to also say that, Ms. Pontieri, you do realize that it was politically motivated, because you received this email that was bashing me and the mayor for possibly going after or FC3 and being sent to this meeting by the mayor. And this is an email that I also sent to you by Nancy Crouch. Nancy Crouch has continued to go in this community and cause trouble for Palm Coast Historical Society. And I have been feeling the repercussions from it since I brought to your attention about the Roberts rules and them not following any rules. You were also at that meeting, and you also witnessed them not even having a quorum to do this committee, this review committee. So, these are things I brought to the diocese's attention only to correct them, not for me to get personal criticism back from this organization that is supposed to be helping our community and helping nonprofits. They also, I would like to know, I have since found out that this is an organization that was supposed to be writing grants for our community and creating income for our community with the nonprofits. They have yet to do get one grant for Flagler County or for Palm Coast for anything. So my suggestion to you is, why are we instilling in them this kind of $100,000 of taxpayers' money? Then they keep talking about how they paid $5,000 for this program. That $5,000 came out of $40,000 from TDC. That is still tax-paying money that came from. So they didn't actually pay for anything. Taxpayers paid for that money. So all I'm saying is that I am disappointed in this process of the administration pushing this forward with them just to save face for FC3, because you didn't have a problem letting me get 2 black eyes from them in the community with the kinds of things that they put out there to everybody, including you and other county officials. And nobody has ever apologized to me or to the Palm Coast Historical Society for what we were put through. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else for public comment? Seeing no one come forward, I'll bring it back to the dais. Any follow-ups?
Yeah, I want to directly address Ms. Pabst, your comments, because I sat up here and very much did stand up for the Palm Coast Historical Society. I very much did tell FC3, you need to give the Palm Coast Historical Society and Ms. Pabst a little bit of grace here, because This was her first time going through the process. I would expect more professionalism moving forward. I very much reprimanded Ms. Anderson and Mr. Johnson for the way that they spoke to you during that interview. So to come up here and say that they have not been reprimanded or there has not been very stern communication to them is incredibly incorrect. Matter of fact, I believe, and I can check on this, but I believe after that there were people actually removed from the grant review board based on that meeting and those comments and what occurred during that interview process. I'm looking at the email that you're referring to, and I'm sorry, I don't see this as being a political email. That's my opinion. If other people take it as, well, this was politically motivated, that's your opinion, but in looking at this email, I feel it could be more of a personal thing, not a political thing, but I don't know. I'm not this person, so they would have to be spoken to about it. But at the end of the day, if we're looking at whether or not it is in the best interest of the city to have an organization of volunteers and subject matter experts distribute a grant through a process that they have agreed to improve and a process that they've agreed to operate under the sunshine the way that it should be, it's just my opinion that that's the way that it should move forward. I'm one of five. So I wish you would have not withdrawn your application, because I sat up here and said I would have been in favor of giving the Palm Coast Historical Society grant money. So it's an unfortunate situation. I'd like to see us move forward in a positive way, as I've stated before.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll still reiterate that I don't think they have SMEs in that organization that can handle grants. Any further follow-up from the City Council? Did you have something to say, Mr. Duffy?
I just wanted to actually get direction to the city manager, so what council wants to do on this item. If you want to move forward with this contract, are there any changes you want to be made to the contract? Since staff and myself will need to do that, but kind of haven't got any direction from City Council on what you want to do this item yet.
Well, you have my direction.
I just had one. Is there anything in the redo of the contract that talks about the sunshine, having the meetings in the sunshine?
I will be adding that to make sure. It does not, because, so just to clear that up, that was under the Flagler County where they were required to, under what they were doing for City of Palm Coast, technically we're not required. But as Ms. Pontieri, it doesn't hurt for them to meet under that sunshine requirement.
The interpretation is that it's kind of a gray area, but best practice is let's operate that way so that everybody believes that it's up and up, correct?
Yeah, and what Ms. Pontieri is talking about is when the county designated them, they designated them under a certain statute. So that's why they're required. But under us, we weren't doing that. So
right. For us, they're an advisory board. For the county, they are a pass-through for state appropriations.
Correct. Yes. So that's just the difference there. But
in the contract, can we write in there that there can be no members on that board that are also members of or employees of the TDC?
That doesn't exist now.
Yeah. Council gives me that direction, sir.
I have no issue with that.
Any further direction you need?
Is the reasoning behind that just the funding that comes from TDC for FC3? Right. I was just trying to make the leap.
I think the staff member that's there is just like a liaison, like James is the liaison. There's not a voting member. No. And that's Deborah, I believe.
So I got that edit, and I have the sunshine requirements. Anything else? And I take it from the body language I'm feeling right now that we're moving forward with it is what I'm getting at?
Due to contract, we still have to vote on it.
Yeah, but move forward with a business meeting.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Got what you need, Marcus?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. We're moving on to item 4, ordinance amending Chapter 42, creating Section 42.7 of the Code of Ordinances, providing for use of operation of bicycles and electric-powered cycles.
Marcus is your presenter for tonight, so he's coming down.
Oh.
The tables have turned.
I'll just say on my drive in this evening as he's getting set up, there were 3 young men on an e-bike doing wheelies, and on the back they had a T-shirt that said "Law-abiding citizen," which I thought was pretty fun.
They're taking them off as sweet
Say
jumps.
again?
And
What did they have?
law-abiding
They had a
citizen.
T-shirt, and on the back it said "Law-abiding citizen" as they're doing wheelies. Which, by the way, when I did my ride along with Sheriff Staley, we pulled somebody over that was doing a wheelie on a regular motorcycle going down Belterre extremely fast. So, anyways, and that's when I think had our first discussion that he was going to talk to his general counsel about this. So, I'm glad we're bringing this to the table.
All right, Mr. Duffy, you have the floor.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, City Attorney Marcus Duffy here at your pleasure. In a previous meeting, you asked me to come back and give a presentation and have a draft of an ordinance for you guys to review regarding electronic bicycles, also known as e-bikes. We do have in the back of the room members of the Flagler County Sheriff's Office who have helped me work on this. So if there are any questions that come up, they are here to help as well. So this is just a little overview of what I'm going to talk about today, the Florida statutes, definitions that I put in that ordinance, proper usage, and if people do not follow the proper usage requirements, the penalties that they would have to face. So the two main statutes that we drafted this ordinance off is 316.008 and 316.20655, in which pretty much those ordinance or statutes give you the power to regulate roads, but also regulate e-bikes on sidewalks and things of those natures. So here's kind of like where I went with the definitions of between a bicycle and an e-bike. A bicycle does not have any type of motor engine as you're pedaling it, where an e-bike is you are fully operating with a pedal, has some type of electrical motor of less than 750 watts, and meets that statute requirement of 316.00323. So there's three types of e-bikes, how we kind of shortened it down based off of the statute. Class 1 is where it's pedal assist, no throttle, and maximum assistance speed of 20 miles. Class 2, another e-bike, maximum speed of 20 miles per hour with a throttle assistance. And then Class 3, e-bike, which pedal assistance, no throttle, and max speed of 28 miles per hour. So another definition that we add in there, it's what's called an electrical powered cycle, which means that any motor vehicle having a seat or saddle for the use of the rider and designated to travel on not more than 3 wheels in contact with the ground. This vehicle has no pedals and is powered by an electrical motor which may exceed speed of 28 miles an hour. A good example of this could be a dirt bike. And I'll go more into that later on in the presentation. Another definition we added is for government IDs. Based on the direction of this council, you did want to have an ID and age requirement. So the ID requirement is pretty much any state, federal ID, passport, military ID that pretty much gives the individual's name, date of birth, and photograph. So here it talks about what bicycles would require. Bicycles would follow according to the Florida statute, but also it would require that they have a front light that goes out 400 feet and then a reflector for 600 feet at night. And also the bicycle, if it is traveling on the road, it would need to follow the road requirements, stopping at the stop sign, stopping at stoplights, things of that nature.
Marcus, I just had a real quick question.
Yes, sir.
For the, one more slide back, for the electric-powered cycles, noted that in the e-bike language, it specifies wattage, and this does not. Is there a reasoning behind that?
This is based off of the Florida statute.
Okay, so this just meets, and Florida statute for e-bikes does specify wattage?
Yeah, those class 3s, what we typed ours off of is based off that Florida statute.
Okay.
Hey, Marcus. I've got
Yes, sir.
a
Mr.
couple
Gambaro.
questions. So what if the pedals, they've got the infrastructure for the pedals, but the pedals are taken off?
If they manipulate it, and I can confirm this with our sheriff's deputies, but I would say if they're taking the pedal off, then they're not meeting the requirement. They're manipulating the bike. It would be at least my review.
Do we need to specify potentially language in there
Yeah, we could add that. Yeah,
altering? Because I know that's, and when we discussed this before, that's a big part of that community is, upgrading and modifying and so changing something that may be considered legal or safe into something that's not.
Yeah, I can make sure. I think there might have been a discussion on that, and if it didn't get added in, we can make sure it's in for the first read.
Yeah, so I heard that from multiple deputies the evening I was out with Sheriff Staley, that they take the pedals off. They manipulate the governor to go faster than 28 miles an hour, things of that nature. And then the operation of the e-bike, proper usage. What if they start on the road and they go on the sidewalk and they're kind of navigating back and forth between?
So my interpretation of this is that if you are on the road, you're like a car. You can't be going in onto a sidewalk. So if you're on the road, you're following the rules of the road. If you're on the sidewalk, it's a different story.
Okay, yeah, because that's been some of the issues. I think the workshop we had a few weeks back on my way home, right on Belterre and Rimfire, there was a young man on the ground because he got hit. But I think there was an issue with going from road to sidewalk, and so okay, yeah, the key here is public safety, right? And making sure that we lay the groundwork to enforce standards and make sure everybody stays safe.
No, good questions, Mr. Gambaro. So it's going to be a trial and error enforcing this thing. So I think it's going to be when the sheriff's office does start, if this goes through and gets passed, the sheriff's office starts enforcing it. I think that's going to be the learning curve the first couple of months, weeks, and then we'll see a more progression in the right way.
Right, and then there's as we go through that process, one of the other concerns was, they start out on the road, they've manipulated, they've taken the governor off for whatever the case may be, but now they're on the sidewalk and they're going way faster than 28 miles an hour. We just got to figure that out. But okay,
and I'll talk a little bit more about that more in the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
And Marcus, did you research other communities, other cities?
Yeah. So to be honest with you, there are not a lot of ordinances on this. There was working with the sheriff's office. We looked at other communities. I think I might have found one or two.
I think I heard something on the Jacksonville News about them trying to pass an ordinance also. So
yeah, Jacksonville is in the process, but they very little out there on what I found. So
okay.
Yeah, and the one other question was the state is supposedly working up some kind of ordinance or regulations on this. I guess I had this question earlier. Does it make sense for us to agree to something before the state has their regulations out? And I think you convinced me that in discussions, that no, we ought to go ahead now and get something there. This is going to get more complicated with time.
Well, this, in things passed, right, with regulation, if we have something on the books before they start regulating, then potentially we could be grandfathered in if we believe ours is correct.
Right.
But if we wait until after them, then potentially we can't.
I kind of came to that.
Go over there. Well, but I believe you have seen the draft legislation, correct?
Yeah, I've seen a draft that is going around. Not much different, maybe adds a couple of extra things, but I would recommend we pass something. In worst case scenario, we always amend our ordinance later down the line.
You can get it.
Council, Sheriff's Office could answer all these questions too.
All right, thank you guys so much for coming up.
Okay. I'm John Lemaster, the Flagler County Sheriff General Counsel. There were a couple questions you asked that I addressed when we did the initial draft.
Can you talk into the mic, Mr. Lemaster? Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm usually heard very well without a mic. My name is John Lemaster. I'm the Flagler County Sheriff General Counsel. In researching this and working with Mr. Duffy, some of the questions you have asked, we reviewed. There are 4 counties in this local area that are looking to provide an ordinance: St. John's, Volusia, Putnam, and us. We are in the beginning stages of that. We're ahead of the game as far as most of the other counties are concerned. In fact, I provided our draft, the one that Mr. Duffy provided back to us with comments, to the other 4 counties. As far as the state statute is concerned, the Sheriff's Office is working with the sponsor of that bill. We have a meeting next week, a virtual meeting next week, to move that bill forward.
Who is it?
Off the top of my head, I can't tell you, but I can provide that information to Mr. Duffy.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
We're looking to move that forward with the support of the Florida Sheriff's Association, sort of as a secondary support, because there are multiple counties. I was just at the legislative session, and we are not the only ones facing this issue. As Mr. Duffy suggested, it would be good for us to get ahead of the game. Nothing that Mr. Duffy has suggested is contrary to the draft bill that I've seen. It would fall sort of hand in glove with that. And as for manipulating the bikes, sir, the e-bikes, you were talking about taking governors off, that would invalidate that as an electronic bike. That's actually part of the statute. So if they were to upgrade, take a governor off or add an engine or do something along those lines, that would no longer be considered an e-bike. If they take the bike pedals off, they would no longer be able to, it would no longer fall under that statute. It would be a separate violation. It is.
Thank you.
All right, so I think we were right around here. So this talks about what we require for an e-bike falling within the Florida statute.
Well, go back one slide, Mr. Duffy, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, when we're talking about bicycles, and in our community, because we don't provide sidewalks, so bicycles in normal operation, correct me if I'm wrong, should operate with the rules of the road on the road, not on the sidewalks. Correct?
That's correct.
Joe Barilli, Chief Deputy at the Sheriff's Office. That's correct.
Okay, so but we do not enforce kids riding their bikes to school, saying on Matanzas Woods Parkway, going across the bridge on the sidewalk. I'm sure kids are not riding on the road, going to school in the morning with all that traffic on.
They can ride on the sidewalk.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. That we allow them to ride on the. We allow them to ride on.
Correct.
We don't enforce that statute, right?
That's no longer. They got rid of that a few years ago. You can ride on the sidewalk.
Okay, so
They can ride on the sidewalk and the road. What this is saying, if they ride on the road, they have to follow the rules of the road.
There used to be a law that said a bicycle couldn't be on a sidewalk.
Okay.
It's been several years since they changed
All
that.
right, thank you. I just want to clarify. That's what I was getting at, because we don't have sidewalks like typical cities. No. Okay, go right ahead, Mr. Duffy.
Okay. So, again, just meeting the requirements of the Florida statute. And then, like we had for the bicycle, it has a 500 feet for a front headlight at night and then a reflector for 600 feet. This next paragraph, so before you give me your comments, I've already had spoken with you all, and I will make edits to this. But we were talking with Mr. LeMaster. The goal of this was if you're on a sidewalk that's not by a road, or if you're on a bike path, that we don't have e-bikers going at very, very fast speeds. So that the 10 miles per hour, that's where that was supposed to be. The goal with immediate adjacent to a road is where like we have bikers that are on the side of the road, whereas there are other bicyclists that can ride faster than 10 miles per hour. So we didn't want to limit those particular examples. So my goal is I will rework this area of the ordinance if council would like me and make it a little more cleaner. But that was kind of the goal in that section of the ordinance. I will pause there for questions.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you for stopping here because this language didn't sit right with me. I just don't think it's very clear at all. But I mean, can you state for me again the objective with this, because I don't really understand your objective with this section.
With the speed limit for the bikes?
Well, on this specific type of sidewalk. I mean, why aren't we just saying no speed limit for, exceeding XYZ on any sidewalk? Why are we qualifying it?
I mean, that's an area we could look at. I mean, it was just we reviewing the statute, it doesn't very clarify what's between a bike path and a sidewalk. A sidewalk can also be considered a part of a road. So that's why I was going into that area as adjacent to a road. But the language is also very general in the Florida statute. So that's why I was trying to be specific. But I see your concerns and I see the question. Mm-hmm. I can go back and take another stab at it to make it more specific so it's not as confusing. And as you say, not just leave it to that certain area.
Yeah, is there anything precluding us from saying that if you're on an e-bike, on a sidewalk, regardless of where it is, you should not be exceeding 10 miles per hour?
We could do that.
I mean, I'm only one, so I want to make sure we've got consensus, but I don't
know. That's fair, because you don't want them going too fast on the sidewalks.
Right.
Like Tracy and Leo walk every night on Matanzas Woods, and those things are so fast and so quiet. They almost got ran over the other night walking just across the bridge.
Mike, on the same thing, I think we allow people walking a dog to have a 6-foot leash.
I was concerned about that too. Your dog getting clotheslined.
6 or 7 feet wide,
yeah,
and you can't see the leash, and that kind of thing. So the speed there is going to be critical. I agree on some.
Yeah, on sidewalks not to exceed 10 miles.
I don't think you qualify it, right? You just say all sidewalks.
I have no.
I think
We got the lawyers over there conversing. What's going on?
in terms of just adjacent, I'm certain that probably state or there's some definition of that, but that also is vague to me, right?
Yeah,
What constitutes adjacent? Is the Pine Lakes bicycle path that's 50 feet away from the road adjacent? It's adjacent.
Right.
It's just farther adjacent.
To what extent? Yeah.
Yeah. So even with that, if we're trying to differentiate the two, just to know exactly what this means.
Understood, and that's why we workshop these issues so we can get them right.
Yeah, I think you'd have more people who just understand. They don't have to think about, okay, is this a sidewalk where I can go faster than 10 or is it not? Let's just make it all sidewalks and then it's a very clear law.
Yeah, it's clear cut. More clear cut, I should say.
Any questions before I move to the next slide? Perfect.
Anybody else have any questions regarding that one? All right, move on, Marcus.
All right, so this was based on the new legislation that was passed and City Council's directions that working with the Sheriff's Office without 15 years of age or older would be appropriate age for e-bikes in the city. Nothing precludes from if the bike does have the capability of having a passenger, that passenger can be under the age of 15, but they would need to be 15 years old to operate an e-bike in the city. And they would have to have an ID. I believe the earliest you can get one is at 11.
The earliest you can get a state-issued ID is actually 5.
Okay.
But they can easily get one at 50.
Yeah. So any questions on that? Any guidance with the age or anything like that?
I'm not comfortable with that age because we were hell on wheels at 12 on bikes. And why would, if they're obeying the rules of the road, say a kid's 12 years old, but he's riding on the road and he's obeying the rules of the road, kid even knows the arm signals to turn, why would we restrict them from riding?
So the idea, I think, here is that this e-bike is very similar to other type of motorized vehicles. The one thing I can remember is a moped. Other states require you to, if you want to operate a moped, you're at least 14 or 15 years of age. So we don't have to go that route, just giving you the options that you're aware of.
Do we have that law here, the moped?
I think the moped might be older. I think when I moved here, you had to be at least 16 or 17.
I recall growing up, there was a statute for that. I don't know if it still exists, but
Can't register them. Most of them are not able to be registered as motor vehicles, so they can't operate them on the roadway. So no one really, I haven't seen them really around anywhere.
Yeah.
I looked at this age too. Granted, I think times were different, but I used to ride around 3-wheelers and 4-wheelers when I was in middle school. So, I still think that there should be an age limitation on it just for the safety of kids. But I would say to maybe, if anything, to lower it to 13. I don't know, Mayor, how you feel about that?
I'm more comfortable with that.
I think it will definitely affect anecdotally, I see younger kids driving e-bikes on the sidewalk, to school and back.
We're also talking about, though, letting parents make that decision. To what extent do we say it's a parent's decision whether or not they want to allow their child to operate an e-bike? Is that really?
It's also a very big investment, right? Some of these people have spent $1,000 on an e-bike for a 12-year-old, and now we're going to say that 12-year-old can't ride it anymore.
Is your kid responsible enough to ride a bike that can go above 20 miles an hour? Expect them to do what's right, obey the rules of the road. And for us military guys, for motorcycles, we couldn't even ride a motorcycle without going through defensive motorcycle.
Oh, yeah, that was a process.
I've had that certification since I was like 21 years old, and I think we should try in conjunction with the sheriff's department, maybe try to do like a safe drivers, because kids don't know that they're riding down the sidewalk and they're getting ready to cross the road. And that kid that got killed out on Belterra, I'm almost certain that was a Terminator truck, a rock truck. But kids don't know that you're supposed to, the law is you stop, you get off, you walk your bike across the road. And it's education. Mm-hmm. Like the sheriff says, a lot of education towards drivers. And I think we need to try to lean forward because this isn't going away.
I was just thinking middle school, do we want kids coming to middle school on an e-bike. So
I see
middle school
elementary
is what age?
schoolers
I do too.
going
What's the
to
age
school.
for last
You
year in
start
middle
high,
school?
you start high school at
11 years is sixth grade.
It's sixth grade now. Yeah.
you start high school at 13.
I keep it above that, but you know,
Yeah, I just have a real problem making that decision for parents, I have to tell you. I mean, I think if you are going to put an age on it, you do under 13. But at the same time, you know,
One thing I will add to the legislation that if it does get passed, it has in the writing right now that people who want to ride an e-bike, they have to take some type of test. It doesn't. I don't believe it lays out what it is. It might, but I do remember reading it when Mr. LeMaster sent it to me. It did say some type of testing or pass written requests.
Yeah, I mean, that makes the most sense. If the way it's written allows for usage of the roadways, then they should demonstrate the ability to, follow traffic signals, things like that.
So are we in consensus to lower the age, to put the age at 13?
I think if we're going to have an age, 13 is more appropriate.
I would say I'm okay with 13, provided the state doesn't come in and say.
Well, that's fine. We can modify as we need to.
And anecdotally, I've seen adults breaking those rules plenty too. So
Yes.
Yes. All right, so 13.
Well, like out on Waterfront, you have a lot of bikes, e-bikes. You have a lot of courteous people. They'll say, they'll ring their bell. That should be something we should put on there too.
I was going to ask that. Do we have no language? I thought I saw that for an audible signal to pass and things like that.
Yeah, it is in the ordinance. I don't have it in my slides, but it says that like when they're passing, I believe pedestrians, they need to be doing that.
And obviously, this is not something that the sheriff's going to be out there, the deputies are going to be out there. Oh, you didn't ring, so we're pulling you over. But the education of it and just having it part of the ordinance, I think, should help people behave in that courteous manner.
Yeah, the courteous drivers out on like Waterfront, they'll say passing on the left, and they'll ring their bell, and you'll know to move over and let them pass on the left. So, I agree with that. Yeah, and that's another thing: restricting the use of AirPods when riding, or earbuds or headphones or any of that while riding a bike. Same thing. I don't think that should be done riding a motorcycle either, but I'm sure people do it. So.
Is that something you want added? We don't have anything like that in there right now.
I think that should be no use of earbuds, headphones while riding an e-bike. If everyone's comfortable with that,
I agree. I mean, I think that creates a dangerous situation.
Get that in there, yes.
if the state changes it, the state changes it.
Is there anything to that effect in any of the? I know it's very lean in terms of other examples that we're kind of leaning on.
There's nothing like that. There's nothing like that I've seen in the other e-bike ordinances.
Not in the other e-bike. Council, not in the other e-bike ordinances that we've read. They hadn't brought that into consideration. They're really dealing with the bread and butter of.
Yeah, it's kind of a starting point.
But the chief deputy reminded me that there's a statute about using headphones within an automobile that we can perhaps.
Yeah, no, I would assume that's also, yeah. Though some people do have music too loud and can't hear.
Yeah. You good, Marcus?
Still going through the presentation. You guys are asking a lot of good questions. All right. So then the other thing is, they obviously, any person operating an e-bike shall carry a government-issued ID. We talked about what that example would be. So that'd be 13 years above. And then this goes through the next, is more of a safety issue, is that any operator of the e-bike 16 years under needs to have a helmet on.
That's state statute.
That's the same as bikes, right? Yep.
Yep.
State statute.
Any feedback on that? Okay, moving along. So this just goes back and talks about, gives example what the motorized cycle would be as defined. We've talked a little bit about that already. A good example of that is a dirt bike. The ordinance here would not allow that type of, electric powered cycle pretty much anywhere in the city. They could use it on their own private property, but not at our parks, not on city property, not in the streets or sidewalks or anything like that.
So this would include those that we talked about earlier that are kind of modified after being purchased.
Yes, ma'am. Any questions on that?
Any questions?
Just so the council's aware, these vehicles can get up to 58 miles an hour.
Wow. I can't even imagine.
It's just an electric powered dirt bike. That's all it is.
Yeah,
What
I mean,
about
it's the
what
same.
about the
Teslas
What about
fly.
the scooters?
The what?
The scooters. Those electric scooters. What's their top end?
The ones with the big. The stand-up
I don't
ones.
think higher than the 20s, but they can modify anything, and I don't know for sure, but it's a lot harder to control a scooter than a.
I've only ever
dirt bike.
used them while traveling.
Yeah, well, those over in the Lime
birds
ones or
and stuff
whatever,
like
they're
that?
limited.
Yeah.
Those have governors on them.
So since we said something about scooters, shouldn't that be part of this too?
That will be something else I'll bring forward back when we talk about golf carts and those of that nature.
Okay. All right, Roger.
Sure. Well, we can add those as well.
Didn't the guy that invented Segway, didn't he ride off a cliff and kill himself? Yeah. Crazy.
That sounds like a urban legend.
It's not an urban legend. It happened.
All right. Last slide before we get to questions is just the penalties. Gives the sheriff's office some type of enforcement. Violating something in these ordinance could be a penalty up to $100 fine. Could seize the property as well. Any questions on that?
So what we're saying is, if you have a legal bike but you're just not following the rules, $100 per violation. If you have this electric powered cycle, $100 up to impoundment of the item.
Where we've encountered the electric powered cycles has been in most of our fleeing and eluding incidents with juveniles taking these bikes and really running against traffic, and unless they wipe out, we have to follow them back by camera to get to where they're at.
Right. I was going to ask, just anecdotally, have we seen these being used in crime more often now? I mean, it's a silent, quick getaway. It can move in areas that typically, a vehicle can't.
I don't want to give out ideas. But other than the fleeing, eluding, and crime in itself, can't say we've seen anything yet.
I know there was something that happened on my street, and the premise during the investigation, or the thought process, was that they had utilized an e-bike to drive to that area, and so they were looking for an e-bike on like my home security cameras and things like that. But the problem is you can't. It's hard to pick them up on our loop feed, all that. If they're on the sidewalk, not in the light,
I'm not going to go too much into our technology. But
okay.
I would like to see if we get this through and we pass this and we have something concrete that once we enact it, the sheriff's department in partnership with the schools, and I'd be all for a defensive. It really is. It's defensive driving, because you are very vulnerable on a motorcycle or a bicycle. I've almost been killed twice on a bike. I got hit by a car and by a motorcycle. More like I hit them. But a helmet saved my life. I wouldn't be sitting here today if I wasn't wearing my helmet. And I will not, for the rest of my life, ride a motorcycle. And I love motorcycles. I still have my endorsement, but I will not ride a motorcycle because of cell phones, because of distracted drivers. And we see too many fatalities every year in our city. I remember a few years ago on that road that comes off of Pine Lakes before it hits Belterre, that intersection where they put up the flashing lights and stuff. Motorcycles got killed right there, and I'm like, how could you get killed coming out of that intersection? Whose fault was that? So, but education is key, and I hope we can do some partnership with the sheriff's department to ensure these kids, are following the rules and understand the consequences of their actions.
Well, potentially, if the state legislation does require some sort of licensing or test, we could coordinate that program with that they must then pass some sort of safety class in order to kind of be certified within the city of Palm Coast or the county, whether they want to piggyback on ours as well.
And that might be something to do FTC, because they do the motorcycle safety course.
Yeah, out there by the hammock.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to jump in and say thank you, gentlemen, for the work that you've done on this and bringing this draft ordinance to the combined effort to bring this draft ordinance to us, and it's important for our city. You know, it's an emerging issue from a public safety perspective, and I think we have to address it. So thank you very much.
Thank you for spending your evening with us.
When will we be voting on this? Next meeting.
Okay, and we may have some more changes coming for you gentlemen, so stand fast. We got any more questions from the council? First read should be next week?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We're going to open it up for public comment.
My mother-in-law is in the hospital, and I forgot to go see her. I appreciate the time today.
State your name for the record, sir.
Frank Pacelli. I have a 48-year relationship with Palm Coast. 1983 graduate of Flagler Palm Coast High School. I own National E-Bike, which is a business here in Palm Coast. I sell a lot of legal bicycles, which happen to have electric motors. First and foremost, I will say I commend the Sheriff's Department for what they're doing. I support them. I may not agree with everything that they say, but at the end of the day, I will support what the law says, and we will do our best to support them. However, we're missing a couple important things. I think they touch on a lot of important aspects, but they're missing a few things. First of all, focusing just on electric bikes is wrong. It's not correct. I have people doing wheelies, going against traffic on regular bicycles every day on Belterre. I have kids absolutely under the age of 16 that don't wear helmets. No one is using hand signals. People are going against the flow of traffic. People are not crossing intersections correctly. Law enforcement does not have enough resources to even enforce the laws that we have in place now that have been in place for years. It's a problem. Trying to regulate speed on an electric bike will never work. It's impossible. You can't enforce it. The manufacturers have developed these electric bikes to adhere to state code and to state statutes. They can be changed easily with manipulation of software. I don't know how in the world you could possibly enforce saying you can only go 10 miles here, you can go 15 miles here, you can go 20. Impossible. It's impossible to control it. And how do you determine the difference between a regular bicycle and an electrical bicycle? I've been on an e-bike and I've been passed by a road bike doing 28 miles an hour or more. So I think we have to be smart and say, what is the problem? Not be proactive, not reactive. To be proactive is to look at the big picture. The big picture is education. I can tell you right now, the biggest problem we have, I stopped a kid on Belterre, and he was riding a bicycle. He fell. I stopped to see if he was okay, and he was going in the wrong direction. So I talked to him for a minute after I helped him up. I'm about to run out of time. And I said, do you realize what you're doing is wrong? You're in a bike lane, but you're going in the wrong direction. And you know what he said to me? He said, I didn't know. And I said, did your parents ever tell you? He said, no. I said, did anyone tell you at school? He said, no. I said, did anyone ever teach you how to ride a bicycle or what you're supposed to do? He said, no. So what we need to do is we need to, number one, get an education program in the city. We need a real bicycle safety course, not some just going out to a road show, attending an event, doing this, doing that. We need an effective program that looks at adults, the elderly, and young people. And we need to enact it. We need to have that in place before we put anything out there as law. How can you hold someone accountable if they don't know?
Your time has expired. I understand education is the key, and we will work on that. Yes, ma'am.
Chantal Pröninger. A lot of interesting point. Education, yes, when I first heard about that, and 15 years old, and I thought about the parents who bought an electric bike for their kids, thinking we don't have to drive them to school anymore, they can go on their own. They invested a few $100s on that bike. So if you get the age limit to 13, what you do is you still, instead of catching the irresponsible, you rule the majority that would be responsible. So, which makes us come back to the education, and using that in a school system would be also wonderful. Under 10 miles per hour on an empty pedestrian path, really? I mean, I'm almost 70. And I have that electric scooter that can go 30 miles an hour. I don't know how fast I go, but I know one thing is when I'm on a pedestrian path and there's somebody walking, I get down and I walk next to that person. Same thing if there's a dog around, because we never know if that dog is going to be reactive or not. Now, if you put restrictions on the e-bike, the kids will go for the e-scooters. So we need to think about that too. And the one I have, as I was saying, goes 35 miles an hour, but the same model goes up to 50 miles an hour. We're not talking about bikes, e-bikes that go 20 miles an hour, so that needs to be addressed too. Also, something that I did not hear about is those kids who go and they drive even a regular bike, and they're sitting on their bike and driving it on their back wheel, with the front wheel up. I mean, this is irresponsible. I understand kids will be kids, and they find it's a lot of fun. But if they're being irresponsible, maybe that needs to be addressed as well. Let's see if I missed something. The airport or whatever you put in your ears to listen to music when you ride a bicycle, yes, that would be nice not to do that, but how can you enforce it anyway?
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir?
Good evening. My name is Brian Krestoff. I live in the C section on hole number 5 of the Palm Harbor Golf Course, and I have a completely different point of view as what's been expressed here. I'm not here. I don't want to debate the merits of e-bike technology. I'm here to talk about how these bikes have been weaponized. The esteemed gentleman up here talked about the crime aspect. I can tell you it is a big problem in the C and the F section. We have several individuals that use these bikes. They don't go to school. They don't ride to the swimming pool. They use these bikes strictly to come out at night. What they do is they dress up in ninja suits. They are completely in black. They wear hoods. They have masks on, and they come out and they use the golf course as a hiding ground. And they are absolutely untouchable. They hit the houses. My house has been hit 9 times. 9 times in the last 9 months. And what they do is they come out and kick your door in. I just had a $1,000 brand new garage door that was smashed with some type of battering ram. And then what they do is they hide their bikes up in the sand traps. They run back up there, and you cannot touch them. On June 28th of this year, I had 3 deputy cars that they tried to catch these guys, and they tried to squeeze them, and they were unable to catch these guys. all you did was they would run from one end of the golf course to the other. They use the golf courses to evade detection. Here, let me, I can tell you that you go on Amazon right now, there are 55 kits from $50 up to about $550 that will make these bikes go 48 miles an hour. There is a bike right now in California. It's an e-bike. It'll probably be illegal. It goes 84 miles an hour. 84 miles an hour. These bikes, they're used not for recreation. These guys come out at night and they cause havoc. And I've made a big stink with the sheriff's office, and I'm going to make a bigger stink at the senior summit, because this is a problem that I don't think is well known. It's well known to the people in the C and the F sections, but they have weaponized these bikes.
Okay, sir.
Okay,
Your time has expired. Thank you. We got it.
I appreciate it.
You guys are on that? You know all about that over in the C section, C and F section? All right, thank you, sir. Yes, sir, Mr. CD.
C.D. Rossell, Culver City Police Department, L.A., retired. USC did a study on motorcycles because we were losing a lot of people, and they came up with a program called CC Rider. This is what you need for the kids on the bikes. And it taught us, I took the course. I'm licensed on a motorcycle. I rode in Europe too. Crazy there. Anyway, the best thing you can do is get the kids education. Absolutely. And you need to look and see what the greatest cause of their accidents are, and that's what you teach to. And I think that's one of the strongest things you can do, and look into that. And I can help you look at that if you want. But anyway, actually, your motorcycle guys, those guys can tell you because they've been through the classes. So anyway, but the best thing we can do is get them educated, have them a requirement if they can buy a bike, that they have to take the course. And as far as the helmets for the young ones, all I can say is let them get their first case of road rash, and they'll change their minds about a lot of things. But the education is an important part.
All right, thank you, sir. Yes, sir?
Hi. Good evening. My name is Jay Wagner, Palm Coast resident and proud 81-year-old e-bike rider. You know, the concept of trying to deal with this e-bike problem is certainly a valid problem. But I don't think this ordinance, with all due respect, and I know a lot of effort goes into these things, but I don't think this ordinance is clear. I don't think it's definitive. I think it creates more questions than it answers. Just the very title of it, Ordinance 2025, amending Chapter 42, creating Section 42-7, the Code of Ordinances providing for the use and operation of bicycles and electric-powered cycles. We spent a lot of time here trying to decide electric-powered cycles is too broad a term. We have legal e-bikes in the state of Florida, excuse me, and we have illegal high-powered e-bikes. Those two should be differentiated. And am I to assume that all the ordinances referred to here today refer to a simple bike, which most of us have been riding since we were kids? So it's a very unclear ordinance. I think it deserves more work, and I think the concept deserves more work. I totally support the concept of education. One of the owners, the National E-Bike owner, I think that's fantastic. We need to have some education in this town. I'm here, basically, I try to represent the senior e-bike community. We use this for recreation. We use e-bikes for health. You cannot have a consistent rule about these sidewalks. Senior citizens are not going to ride e-bikes in the street. Senior citizens who are riding trikes, e-trikes, are not going to be riding e-trikes in the street. It's far too dangerous. You want to see a community where accidents skyrocket, start putting the entire e-bike community in the street. We have sidewalks here, and let's face it, guys, thank God for this, but Palm Coast is not Manhattan. Our sidewalks are not that crowded. Open your eyes, drive through this city, Palm Coast Parkway, Belterre, Colbert Lane, and you'll hardly see anybody walking on the sidewalks. And you'll see precious few bikers on the sidewalks also. So we're creating, in my opinion here, an issue that is far overblown. It is not unsafe for e-bikes to be on the sidewalks. It is not unsafe for pedestrians to be on the sidewalks. We have incidents with bikers. We have incidents with cars. You're not going to ever eliminate that problem. We need some ordinances. I think a speed limit is appropriate, but I think this ordinance as it stands here today, again, with all due respect, is just not clear enough to make any definitive actions on. I thank you for your time. Thank you for your efforts.
Thank you, sir. Any more public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Michelle Easton. My husband Gary and I own Benefit Electric Bikes. There are other bike shops that are here. We all have the general consensus that we do believe in safety. If you do not have the funds to put together, if the city does not have the funds to put together a program, I know in my bike shop, I'm willing to educate my customers. Part of my teaching in my education of riding an e-bike is I do my own education. So if it's something that we can do and become certified within the bike shops, I'm willing to do that and pass it on to the city officials that the people who purchase from me are all certified. I agree with the I think that it should be 16, not 13, just based on my experience. But the bike shops in this city, we do believe in safety. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, Miss Henry. Are you out there riding an e-bike, Miss Henry?
No.
Okay.
No, my doctor advised me years ago, stay off of bikes. I don't have the coordination. So anyway, what I wanted to say is I think you definitely have to add the e-scooters in with the e-bikes, because I know you said something about golf carts, but that's totally different. These kids are just, I had one fly straight across the intersection on an e-scooter, where they're standing on those scooters. And the other thing I wanted to say is, I know a lot of the problems are the parents. You say your kids need education, parents need education, because the parents are not teaching their kids. And yet they're buying them these e-bikes. So I think that, the city should consider maybe having like a license for e-bikes, especially for younger kids. I mean, not adults particularly, but $5, who cares? But then that would give the city or the sheriff to have their name, their address. It's like a license like you have for your dog, so it's for your e-bike. And I think you should really consider that adding into your ordinance, and that would maybe give them more, if they come for the license, you can give them more information, so that's my suggestion.
Thank you, Miss Henry. Tony, you had something? Are you out there riding an e-bike?
Not yet. Tony Amaral, Palm Coast. So I do think the ordinance needs to be more broad. I was actually at Gainesville today visiting a university with my son, and I saw skateboards that were electric, the one wheel, I think it's called just a wheelie, scooters. It's a broad subject. I don't know how exactly we're going to address that, because if you get rid of one, they'll just shift to another. An idea, maybe registering the bikes. I mean, we have to register dogs, registering the bikes, and maybe even, since we are going to require ID for anyone under 16 to have it, maybe an online test, get your certification, City of Palm Coast, checked off, you passed the test, now you can go get your ID so you can ride your bike. It's just an idea, something to throw out there. But we do need to make it broader. Please keep the age down. I do know there's a lot of kids that rely on e-bikes and parents rely on e-bikes because the school system now is, I believe, 2 miles from a school before you can get bus riding. It's a walk. I mean, average person walks 3 miles per hour. That's going to take you a 40-minute walk on an e-bike or any electronic device like that. It will cut down time on getting back home. So please keep that in mind. Thank you.
If you took a kid up the Tour UF, you better take them to FSU also. Yes, Mr. Stone.
That's when they get their denial letter, Mr. Mayor.
Having this problem is Daytona. You drive down to US 1 with Mike 1 or 2 times a week. I drive my wife to the state office. These people are riding right in the middle of the bank, the lanes. Not only the electric bikes, the motorcycles, and just regular bikes. They have no regard for the driver on the street. And obviously, if you hit them, you're going to be blamed. So the whole state needs to crack down on this. You know, and obviously in Palm Coast, we don't have enough police officers. They just can't sit on the street. But even coming right back down to US 1 heading to Palm Coast, you see these people on the bikes, the electric bikes, no regard for the drivers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stone. Sometimes we run into Darwin. It'll happen a lot. Mr. Webb, yes, sir. Are you out there riding an e-bike?
I do not. Hey, if it were up to me, if it was motorized, it'd be 16 like a regular motorcycle and it'd be on the road. We would have no other issues. But that's not how it's going to turn out. My question, my concern is enforcement. The first question I would ask, bicycle rules and regulations have been on the books for a long time. Helmets. Could somebody in the sheriff's department provide for you, how many tickets were written of people not wearing helmets or not violating the rules that we have in place today? I don't know of any. Be curious to see, because once again, we are adding workload, expectations to our law enforcement services, which we get requested every year. Well, we need more deputies. How many more deputies are we going to need to enforce the next 300, 400 kids that are riding all over the city on e-bikes? How much is that going to cost the citizens for enforcement? I don't see enforcement of bicycles happening today. As we've heard over and over again, that we see our kids riding to school in the morning. When I go over to the aquatic center and I drive over by the school, I see kids blasting by, no helmets, whatever. The one gentleman says his parents haven't told him what the rules are. Do you think that the school enforcement officers that are there and see these kids ride up that don't have their helmets, are they going to walk over there and ticket them for not following the rule that we know? You know, this seems deja vu to me, because how many other ordinances has this city put in place? Paint colors, vehicles in your sidewalk, all of these other ordinances that we have struggled with how to enforce, how to control. And I ask you, yes, this needs attention. But we shouldn't rush into determining and understanding how it applies to us until we know how do we enforcement, what is that cost going to be, the education side of it, which is dramatically important. Are our school service officers also talking about bicycle riding and those kind of things? All I'm asking is for us to look back at the actions that we've done in the past with all of these regulations and do better and think a little deeper about those impacts. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Yeah, they got back to me, the school resource officers do enforce the helmets, and that actually they told me that they gave some of the kids helmets, if I'm not mistaken. But the school resource officers are trying to do their level best. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor. Anthony Del Valle, B section. I do see a definite need for some regulation and ordinance to take place. Bicycles are just all over the place. I've seen the increase in the last year and a half, 2 years. There are a lot of young kids using the bikes for rational purposes, going to school, but there is a lack of guidance, a lack of regulations, and I think as a body that focuses on safety and being responsive to our community, our ordinance is due to be put in place. Now, it is going to take consideration in multiple areas, because the way I understand it is there are different classes of these bikes, class 1, 2, 3, depending on their speed. I don't feel comfortable with a class 3 bike that goes 50 miles an hour on the sidewalk. That seems a little risky. There are also age limits to this. I know we discussed the age of being 13, 15, or 16, but we have to tie those into the classes because the classes dictates the speed of the bike. So sure, I don't want a 13-year-old on a bike that goes 50 miles an hour, but I don't mind them on a class 1 that goes less. So there's more in-depth, analysis and figuring out the nuances. There's something that's going to be effective and going to apply to across the board to different groups, ages. Same thing with the bike helmet. Sure, maybe a 16-year-old, you say you don't need to wear a bike helmet, but a 13-year-old, I would kind of advocate a bike helmet. So those are kind of the nuances and details that I hope will be considered, analyzed, and perhaps included in a comprehensive ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any further public comment? Seeing no one come forward, we'll bring it back to the dais. Any closing comments?
Just wanted to comment, I think, on the last commentary, as well as I think Mr. Wagner, I believe, in the questions about the differentiation. I think it does clearly kind of define bikes versus e-bikes versus the powered cycle situation. So those are taken care of in this ordinance that separate, what's allowed and what's not allowed in terms of those things. So it's not excluding stuff that's normal and appropriate to use on the sidewalks, but it is excluding those things that have been modified or are not for sidewalk use. The intent of the manufacturer is not that you can go 50 miles an hour on a sidewalk. It's for off-roading and things like that. So I think that is defined here. So I think we're safe in terms of those concerns.
Okay, thank you, Vice Mayor.
Yes. So as the ordinance reads now, to the commenter about helmets being equally applied, it does require a helmet whether it's an e-bike or a regular bike. So that's covered. It's already in the ordinance. My question is regarding the speed. We can clock a regular bike, right? The speed of a regular bike?
You can, but as far as enforcement, it's going to prove to be very difficult.
So can you explain that to me, why it's more difficult to enforce a regular bike speed versus an e-bike speed?
Well, radar, typically a deputy's using it for even a motorcycle or a vehicle based on reflection radar. And a bicycle is smaller. It could be picking up a car next to it. It is going to be very, very, very difficult to pick up a smaller object on a sidewalk. And just sitting there running traffic all day for bicycles is going to prove to be very difficult.
Okay.
Signature.
One of the other issues,
Yeah.
the woman that we need to consider too as well, is one of the other issues we need to consider too as well is the notice posting we would have to do as far as speed limits are concerned. I think one of the council members indicated, how do you know this is a 20 mile an hour zone versus a 10 mile an hour zone? So that's going to provide a cost that we didn't anticipate. When we originally drafted it, it was for reckless driving. We were looking for individuals who were acting reckless, in and out, speeding along that sidewalk to the point where they were forcing individuals off the pathway or doing something like that. Mr. Duffy tightened it up quite well with the concept of a C, but the enforcement of that may be difficult to pull off. as well as the notice that goes with that.
So I was kind of thinking through the folks that are here, particularly from the shop speaking. I'm wondering if in the ordinance we can create because the Florida statute on normal bicycles references a safety brochure. That it says in the statute that when stopping somebody for violation of this statute, you have the option to either provide this safety brochure or give a citation. So I'm wondering if in the ordinance we can dictate that in our city, whether it's a bike shop or an e-bike shop, that we create a brochure, whether it's through the Flagler County Sheriff's Office, through the city, or in conjunction with one another, that these safety brochures are inside each one of these shops, and that they have to provide a brochure to folks purchasing a bike, regardless of if it's an e-bike or a regular bike. So, I mean, can we, I know it's kind of or somewhat of a restriction on private business, but it's saying that, hey, if you sell a bike, you have to give a brochure. Can we dictate that?
Well, ordinance-wise, I'll let him answer that. But I do agree with everyone, education is key. And whether you drive a car or bicycle or e-bike, you need to know the laws and ultimately follow them. And without the education and proper knowledge, they're not going to know. So I really do like the ideas everyone had. I did give one gentleman my business card because I want to see what material they have now. Maybe something we can look at and definitely go down.
At least something that says these are the ordinances in the city of Palm Coast. I mean, these are good safety policies, but these are the actual ordinances, because yes, you can maybe post some speed limit signs, but if we have the ability to say, look, our ordinance says that in the city of Palm Coast, if a bike shop is operating, they are to give out this brochure, then there's a lack of an ability to have plausible deniability. I also do agree, though, that there should be some type of class or presentation that's given to the schools as well, whether that's the city or the Flagler County Sheriff's Office, somebody, again, in conjunction with one another, so that we can do somewhat of an education campaign on this as well.
Vice Mayor, we did educate all of our kids in our summer camp program this year. We partnered with the TPO, and they came and gave bicycle safety and awareness and helmets to the summer camp. We've partnered with the Sheriff's Office numerous times about riding safe and e-bikes, et cetera. Tried to reinforce some of the statutes that are already in place. As well as Parks and Rec, during Parks and Rec Month, did a pedal in the park where we partnered with TPO as well. Same thing, bicycle helmets, safety, and that's been pretty consistent as far as the city is concerned on campaigns and education. And
yeah, no, and I think the summer camp is great, and I was at Pedal in the Park. I think that was great as well, but I mean, we had less than 50 for Pedal in the Park. I mean, that's a drop in the bucket.
We used to do partnered bicycle rodeos with the Sheriff's Office. They still do them, I think, with the school district, as like with the back to school jam and all kinds of stuff. So we, as far as the municipalities working, governmental agencies working together, we have tried all kinds of different things, and we still do. So it is a part of our routine to focus efforts on this.
The hard thing that we would have to focus on is educating the ones who aren't voluntarily coming to these courses.
Sure.
That's the point I was going to make, is I still think, whether it's having the safety brochure at a business, right? Well, we know things like Amazon exist, and I don't know what the percentage of bikes are that are in Palm Coast or bought from a shop versus shipped in, but we can't control those businesses the same way we could control that. So ultimately, the class/licensure situation is probably the best opportunity to at least get this information to every person that gets on a bike, whether they learn from it, use that information or not, we can't control, but that would at least, if you're licensed to operate a bike, you've received the safety information. If we do events in schools and things like that, again, the point is what about all the people that don't come to those events?
So then if that's the road we're going to go down, then we have to figure out a licensing process. What does that look like? Then I think that involves quite a few more offices. So
I would recommend maybe this might be a trial and error type of ordinance. If we get this worked where we have a good shell right now, if council is good enough with what we have, what you gave our recommendations today, we can move forward with that. It would not shock me that when legislated what a statute comes out, they could require some type of license, and then we just updated what the Florida statute requires.
We anticipate that this is going to be brought forward in the next session and potentially voted on.
Council, you had asked who we were working with specifically,
Right.
I believe. Representative Kendall and I'm going to mess his name up, but Representative Benarock are two of the ones who are sponsoring legislation in this next session. And I have a meeting with them on Thursday regarding regarding reviewing their statute and moving it forward. It's the same one I provided Mr. Duffy already.
Can we go ahead and work together, though, to create a brochure to give our bike shops so that they can at least start giving those out? I think that's
The city manager function, correct term.
We can do that.
okay. Thank you.
We got anything down here? Yes.
I was just going to just respond to some of the business owners' comments about having their, authorizing them to provide some of the certification because they're at the point of purchase. What does that look like? I don't know. I thought it was a good idea, maybe worth exploring. Just trying to use every avenue we can to facilitate that educational process. I just thought it was a good idea. That might be.
I agree, and I think it's worth the effort to have some basic safety tips, what the laws are, so everybody's aware. At the point of sale, I think that's a good idea.
Well, I agree with that up to a point, but if we do anything to make it a little more difficult for somebody to buy an e-bike at a store as opposed to buying it online, then you create a problem there too.
I mean, somebody that's interested in going and learning, getting information from a shop owner versus, the online world where you can purchase things and have it delivered in 2 days. I think they're the type of person that actually does engage and are willing to spend the time versus, another type of person that says, I want it here tomorrow and I don't want to talk to anybody when I make this the point of sale,
Do we have any statistics on how many e-bike accidents we've had in the last fiscal year?
I don't have that with me, but I can get it.
Off the top of your head, do you know how many fatalities we have? We know we had at least one, right? That's just.
I don't want to take a guess on that. I really want to make sure it's not a normal bicycle. If it's an actual e-bike, it's an e-dirt bike. I don't want to class it all into one. And
Okay. All right. No worries. No worries. But I'm sure it's an uptick. Chief's back there. What you got, Chief? Chief's like, I can tell you something about that.
Kyle Berryhill, Palm Coast Fire Department. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just sent something to the city manager a few weeks ago. We instructed our team to create a separate tab in our reporting documentation related to electronic bikes in the city. So our data is relatively new, probably the last 90 days. But going forward, we will be able to give you that information related to these. And it's become a thing. We do a daily pass down from our North and South battalions. They're instructed to always mark any e-bike crash because we know this is an item that's of concern to our community, and just to see if we have any data to support the concern. Anecdotally, we know that that's the case. So I don't have good data for you today, but going forward, we've already begun to collect that in a different way.
All right. Thank you, sir. Any other comments, questions, concerns? You got the guidance you need, Mr. Duffy?
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate
Thank you, gentlemen, for showing up and spending your evening with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to close out with our last public participation. Do we have anybody that has final comments? Don't you get up from that seat, woman. Come on. Come on, Chantel. What you got?
Yeah, I was thinking after talking earlier about the Southern Recreation Center is what could we do to motivate local businesses to invest in that center or sponsor it. I remember in Maryland we had the dentist office, and he had all those pictures about kids that he would sponsor to go to camp and do those sportive events. So maybe there's something that could be looked into.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, I think they do have sponsors for events, right, City Manager? Yes. They have lots of sponsors. What you got, Mr. Stone?
You're not going to like this comment.
Uh-oh.
I recently learned about the someone from the water department turning in comments about what's going on. Mr. Mayor, as you know, last year we had tremendous problems living on Cimarron Drive with the homeowner. Several leaks all over the place, and over 7 years in that house, my water bill was close to $2 million. Outrageous. The homeowner said, "Oh, it's not me, it's not me, it's not me." The water department was nice enough to come out and do a full scope as they could, and they said, they either got major leaks or it's underground. Well, one of the things they did for us, they put in 2 different meters, and then someone emailed me today that the meters were faulty, driving up the water rates. So I got a major decision to make. And the mayor, before he was mayor, actually lent us 2 air conditioners, because within 15 days, the air conditioning system went out, and then the hot water went out. They had some kind of chemical on the top of the roof. So now knowing people have had major problems with the new meters that you guys put in, I have to talk to my attorney and say, well, what do I do here? Because the homeowner stuck me with the bill. I paid the bill over the years. And the attorney I use, he knows his stuff. He comes from the Justice Department. He's a private lawyer. Actually, he lives right in Palm Coast. And oddly enough, he also serves the Colombo family, Lamar. And in the 20 years working in Wall Street, I got questioned by the Security Exchange Commission to testify someone. I couldn't do it because he was family members. He got them to just say, okay, send your information and we'll leave you alone. So this man is excellent, but I'm really going to have to sit down and talk with him, because if you provided false meters and someone from your water department testified to this, why should I suck up that bill that I paid? Someone else has got to be held accountable. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Stone. Anyone else for public comment?
Mark Webb, Palm Coast. So this is just information for Councilman Gambaro. In the last meeting, you were remotely, and during that meeting, you, I believe, unintentionally discussed the disability ratings of others. I would caution you that that's a HEPA violation. I don't believe you intended to do it purposely, and I believe you were acting in defense, rightfully so, that somebody was questioning your taxes. As a disabled veteran, I earned and suffered, and I don't question any of the, any of us and the benefits we get. But during the conversation, you insinuated that there were others on the dais that also had 100% disabilities. So I would just ask that check yourself. I'm guilty of it myself sometimes because I'm a very proud veteran, and I think we all work hard and have earned and put ourselves in harm's way. And I kind of missed it. But when I got home, my wife, who is the mother of a 25-year Chief Warrant Officer Marine, blew my mind. And so I just wanted to take a moment and remind you that those kind of things may not be shared at some level. But besides that, you guys are all doing a great job. Enjoy spending. Well, I wish last week would have been as short as this week, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Any further public comment? Seeing no one come forward, I'll bring it back to the dais. City Manager Mr. Stone did call me today, and he was talking about people, some chatter on social media about people saying their meters are faulty, and it may be just because, the increases that are happening. But if it's happening, I'd like to put a stop to it. If somebody could look, I don't know if Brittany could check out social media, think specifically next door, but reach out to those people that are having issues. If it's a faulty meter, let's get it fixed. And for the general public, if you think there's something wrong with your meter, if you had a meter replaced recently or you think something's wrong, contact the city, put in a work order, have somebody come out and check it. And as always, you got to be checking for leaks because our rates are not cheap in this city as far as water is concerned. I was directing that at you, but pretty much a general comment. But
yes, Mayor. Mr. Brian Roche, our utility director, is aware, and if residents do put in work orders, we are working through that.
Okay, thank you. That was it for public discussion. Matters not on the agenda. City council members, anybody got anything?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
What you got?
I agree with that as well because anecdotally I see people saying my water bill went up 100%. And our raise was not anywhere near 100. It was an 8% raise, right? So shouldn't be seeing something to that effect. So if there is something like that happening,
it's unusual. Yeah.
We need to check for leaks. We need to find out what the problem is because there's obviously a problem there. I also wanted to thank Public Works this morning. There was a issue. At first, I thought it was a tornado. There's some fencing down on Belterre. Between Bel Air and Palm Coast Parkway. Apparently a vehicle had gone through in the middle of the night, through one yard, through another yard, kind of ripped down quite a bit of fencing. But I was told of it, so I went over there, and Public Works responded quickly, got all the fencing that was kind of destroyed that was in the right-of-way, out of the way of the sidewalk. There was some in the road as well, so they took care of all of that this morning and was able to talk to the residents. But I guess the vehicle was towed, and it was actually worked by Highway Patrol, not by the sheriff's office. So I talked to them because of disclosure rules. They couldn't really tell me much about what actually happened, but I think the HBA is also interested in trying to get some reduced costs there for replacement of the fence. One of the houses is a rental duplex. And then the other one, I believe, is a home that, the resident is not present right now, maybe a snowbird or something like that. So trying to get good contact. City manager assisted with getting a number for that resident, but that number is not working right now. So just trying to get that taken care of so they're aware of what happened to their fence overnight last night. But again, Public Works responded very quickly. They got a signal truck out there to direct traffic around that portion of the road to make it safe for people to drive, and cleaned all that up within an hour or two. So just very thankful for them, doing that work this morning. The other thing, the elephant in the room, the Florida Gators had a rough weekend. I was there, did not enjoy it. Had me looking forward to the upcoming basketball season. So I looked, it's sometime in early November we start that. So, but in any case, I'm a season ticket holder, so I'll still be there watching all the games and all that. But yeah, we had a rough weekend. That was not how we wanted to start this season out. So
I might say imitation is not the greatest form of flattery in the case of Florida defensive event or whoever it was.
Oh yeah. We had just talked about the spitting, and then this guy. Anyways.
All you got? Yeah,
yes, sir.
That's not the first time something like that's happened on Belterre, because I used to live in the B section. It happened often. You talking about, was it the metal railing?
No, it's past there. It's past the where the fountain is on. I think it's Bradmore, Braddock and Bradmore. Mm-hmm. Kind of that small little loop section there. It's one of those houses that backs up directly to Belterre. There was a wood fence and then a vinyl fence that was basically completely demolished.
No drinking and driving. You got anything, Councilman?
I do. Yeah, I've got a few things, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. I just wanted to thank the entire team for putting together a great topping off ceremony last Wednesday. It was a great event. It was a great show of unity for a fire station that's going to have great enhanced capabilities, right, Chief? And then I had the opportunity to go by the new Fire Station 26 today. And that's coming along great. The roof is up, and it's looking really, really good. I attended the Northeast Florida Regional Council meeting last Thursday, and the board approved our request for the economic plan assessment. So it was good to see that done. A couple flooding concerns. City manager did just late. This happened just before I came here. Some of the business owners on Hargrove Grade were complaining that the water was covering the entrance of the main road going in there. And then Cypress Point Parkway, I guess yesterday we got pretty bad, close to like where the car wash is there, the Mr. Car Wash. I just want to make sure you were tracking it and see if there's things we could do to resolve it. And then just looking forward to as many of you as possible joining us tomorrow night to look at the lights at Ralph Carter Park and just kind of have a conversation about, the way forward on, addressing that light pollution and really, how we can get a win-win for our residents, not just in the R section, but also for our sports leagues. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Just quickly, you remind me, Hargrove Grade, we still were going to do that traffic analysis for the amount of traffic in and out of Hargrove. Remember, we agreed to do that.
Yeah, we did. We gave that direction.
But the item failed. It did not move forward.
That was separate.
So I do recall us asking for that anyways, because I think, in my mind anyways, we were anticipating another concrete, but I think that was pulled from PLDRB.
Right? Yeah.
That wasn't the reason. The reason was for any future businesses going in there to have that data ahead of time.
Yeah, that direction was given separately from the actual agenda item. I do recall that.
City manager looks like she's got it. Hargrove had, I noticed some water backing up there the other day too, because we run that road a lot. So if we can get some people out there. Cypress has been an issue. Those drains, remember, city manager, that's the
There's
call.
a catch basin there.
Danny went out there and cleared it out. They clog up all the time. But that was it for you, right? Okay.
I have a few, sorry. Sorry, you skipped me. That's okay.
Saved you for last.
Okay, so a couple things. I first want to congratulate Master Detective Catherine Gordon. She was named Officer of the Year by Crime Stoppers of Northeast Florida, so quite an award. She should definitely be commended for that. I also want to congratulate our Green Roof Inn. They've been selected for the National Innovation Award. They continue to do really good things over there at the jail, so congratulations to our Flagler County Sheriff's Office and also Chief Eckert, who is in charge of the jail over there. I will not be going to Ralph Carter Park tomorrow. Councilman Gambaro, I understand this is a concern of yours. Quite frankly, I don't want to give oxygen to the issue. I'm just being very candid with you. We have a lot of kids that play at that park. It's keeping them out of trouble. It's keeping them in organized sports. I quite candidly, I have been out there numerous times. When I first got on this council, I went out there after we put the visors, and I pushed for the visors on the lights to try to help the issue. After we put the visors on the lights, I went out there. I have continuous conversations with the leagues out there to make sure they're turning off the lights as soon as they're done. So I have advocated for our residents out there that have had these light issues, but it's my position that nothing further should be done at this time. So I will not be there tomorrow night, but I'm happy to have a conversation with you all, obviously, from this dais afterwards. Last thing is, obviously, Thursday is 9/11. I hope to see our community members out at some of our events to honor the heroes from that day, to remember those lost, to pray for them and their families. And I just want to thank everybody in advance for putting on those events, and for everybody in the community that is doing private events to honor and remember that day. And the sacrifices that were made and that are continuing to be made by our first responders. I want to thank our community in advance for what you all do, and I look forward to seeing a lot of our community members out as we remember and pray for those lost.
Thank you. That's it. That was short and sweet. Yeah. You got an alibi?
I just wanted to say that because the Vice Mayor had mentioned, working with the sports leagues, I have seen Jay on social media calling people out for parking incorrectly, telling them they need to move it to the correct locations and things like that. So it was good to see that they're out there proactively kind of enforcing the rules that we said, hey, if you're going to do this, you have to abide by these rules. That's what a good partner does.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Sullivan, you didn't have anything? Okay, we have the special business meeting tomorrow at 5:15 for the tentative millage and rate and budget resolution. That's all I have. City Manager?
Yes.
I'm sorry. City Attorney?
Nothing for me, sir.
Thank you. City Manager?
Thank you. City Council, you basically covered my items. The budget hearing is tomorrow at 5:15 p.m., the 9/11 ceremony, and then Ralph Carter Park lights. Fields are closed. They're most likely going to be closed again tomorrow due to the rain. So we would just be meeting James out there to turn on the lights, so there won't be any playability out there. Just wanted to say... And if it is raining like it's raining right now, do you want to be out there?
Oh, let's adjust to a time where, we can still have this discussion.
Yes.
I mean, the forecast tomorrow is what?
Rain.
Tons of rain.
Yeah, it's bad.
And anything else, City Manager?
No, sir.
Okay. I really want our stormwater... I know they've been responding. There's been a few emergencies where they had to go out and pump out, but they need to be out there making those assessments and trying to correct and figure out what we need to do to fix the problems. One of the specific ones is Hargrove, because if that water was backed up the other day when I came home from Tallahassee, nobody's going to say anything about Tallahassee. It probably needs to be dealt with. So. Let's make sure people out, Lynn and her team's out there making assessments and clearing those drains and doing what we need to do to keep people's houses from flooding.
Okay, so if it's raining at the conclusion of the budget hearing, you want to reschedule the lights?
That'd be a good time to discuss it.
Yes, I mean, if it is.
Okay.
But I still think we should go out there and meet and go through this exercise.
Tell James to wear his boots, his hip waders to go turn the lights on. Look at him, he's got a thumbs up. We got anything else?
Move to adjourn.
We're adjourned. Thank you. Don't you be over there complaining.